Well, hey, everybody. This is Dennis Crowley, joined as always by Tom Cook. We're going to do a podcast slash videocast slash Google Hangout talking about the SSFA and taking a look at things as they stand with a mid-season review type show. Say hi, Tom.
Hey, guys. How's it going? This is Tom. We haven't spoken to you guys in a while. It's been couple of months since we did the show, since we did any shows, but we had planned all along that we would do an SSFA midseason show. Maybe, Dennis, a Battle Royale, second block of games closing pretty soon. Maybe we'll do a Battle Royale playoff preview, end of the season type of deal. And as these leagues start to get into their advanced elements, and we'll bring all kinds of action there and postseason action, and that'll get us into probably into July. Maybe a little summer sprint action in the Battle Royale, and of course the vaunted strat ratings coming out around the 4th of July every year, which will be an extravaganza when the strat ratings come out.
It's a joyous time whenever we get those ratings get released. It's I could spend hours just looking at those. So
exactly. And I can spend hours talking about them. Probably normally to people who don't care, but here I can talk to someone who actually cares, so it's good.
There you go. So there's
SSFA.
one game.
Good.
Yeah, SSFA. There's one game pending before the end of the season, end of the quarter. But we were able to get the file from Ed. So, or actually, it looks like all the games are in. Am I right? Am I looking at it right?
Well, due to our connections in the SSFA front office, we were able to secure a league file that is actually more updated than the current standings, because there was an outstanding game, Washington at Buffalo, and Keith Mowbray's Washington Football Club. I'm not going to say the name if I can help it, if I remember, to be politically correct. They defeated the Bills 35-11. So in the league file, Washington has improved to 4-4. The Bills have dropped to 1-7, although the SSFA standings file doesn't have that game in it yet. I'm sure Ed has a process where he checks everything off, and I'm sure that's his cup of tea. So I guess I should screen share. We've always been screen sharing, so I'll start screen sharing, and now I'm screen sharing. You're probably seeing you. There you go.
I do. There you go. That works.
Yeah, you got the
let me lock it on into you so that even when I'm talking, we're looking at the same thing. So there's the standings.
So you know what? I probably should not have spent all that time making sure that my webcam was properly situated, because I had it earlier where you had the old forehead view of Tom Cook, which is now pretty famous, I think, from a lot of the broadcasts. But I made sure to center my webcam, and now I'm not even showing myself. So anyway,
we'll cut back to you at some point during the broadcast. So the work was not in vain.
Excellent. All right, so looking at these standings now, in watching some of these videos, I noticed, you can't always really see with the screen share exactly what's going on. You can come out a little phasey or muddled. What's phasing is not a word. A little hazy or muddled. So if you hear us talking about something, maybe you should pop it up on your screen. The standings here and the league manager file. I'm sure Ed is sending out momentarily. Probably could be out tonight. So you bring that up as we talk about it. It might be easier for you to follow while you listen to the broadcast, or you can follow here. I don't care what you do. I'm just giving you advice. But so how do you want to do this? I was thinking we got two options. We could just start at the top and work our way down and talk about teams, or we could right away say, let's look at some noteworthy things, like maybe some surprises and or disappointments. We should probably just go straight down, I think. Otherwise, we'll miss teams. All right.
That sounds good to me.
So I guess the team to talk about then would be the team that currently rules the land. That would be Butch's 7-1 Cincinnati Bengals, who I lost to this quarter, 25-24, on the last play of the game. Thank you very much. Now this team is a team now. If we had probably prepared a little more, and I would be very impressed if you have this, but I doubt you do. I don't suppose you have a list of the records we chose each of these teams for, do you?
I can work on that while you juxtapose.
While I pontificate.
While you pontificate, yes, exactly.
While I go on endlessly, as I usually do anyway, even when you're trying to participate and talk. I'm not known for sharing I think on these shows sometimes. I have to work on that. We're in group therapy. It'll be fine. But
You're fine. You're actually share more during the podcast than during a play-by-play. Then it's like, man, it's Tom's show, and rightfully so, because you do an excellent job. But I don't mind. I don't mind jumping in here. I feel less comfortable interrupting you when you're on a roll on a play-by-play broadcast.
Well, we spoke about it once, I think. I don't know if we spoke about it on air during one of these shows, or if we just spoke about it, just you and me talking. But I think calling a draft football game play-by-play, it's the plays happen fast and furious. It's not like when you're watching a football game. There's a break as the guy gets tackled and they're going to get back to the huddle, or the ball's out of bounds. They're taking their time. You've got 30-second breaks to interject, but when we do the play-by-play, if someone's trying to commentate and give analysis, it's like 3 or 4 plays might go by before by the time you give one sentence, because because these guys are clicking. They don't care if we're calling the game. They're feeling hot. They're feeling lucky. They want to click or whatever. So unless you're playing me, because I play very slowly, then if I was playing the game, then you could do analysis even if someone was also calling it, probably because I play so slowly. And I've already look how much time I've wasted already. But the Bengals, now I know we like the Bengals to make the playoffs, and I think I had them maybe at around 11-5 or 10-6. We know that I was notoriously stingy, although I did end up, I think, getting about 10 teams in the playoffs. I think you had 11. But I think we both like this team, but I don't think we like them to dominate and be 7-1. Now it's interesting with this team. First thing you look at is who they've been playing and how they've been faring. Now this team is 7-1, but look at the scored points against. He's plus 18 points.
I was just going to say that he's not dominating. He's not blowing people out. He's winning. No. He's doing what it takes to win, but he's not destroying people like we thought he might.
Well, no, we didn't think he would. We thought he was a good, solid team, 10-6, 11-5. We didn't pick him to be like a number 1, number 2, number 3 seed, maybe more of a 4, 5, 6 type of seed. But he got blown out by Jacksonville, 33-7. And look at the scores of the rest of his games. He won by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 1 point. He won 4 games by 3 points or fewer. And then he beat the Bears, who are 1-7, by 10 points, and he beat the Redskins by a touchdown. So he's 7-1, but only 2 of his wins have been by more than 6 points. 5 of his wins by 6 points or fewer.
It looks like the only 2 teams he's played that are over 500 are you, who he barely beat on a last-minute field goal, and Jacksonville, who he got blown out by. I don't see any other team in the top half of the league that he's played yet. So it might just be a matter of scheduling and beating who's in front of you. That's what you got to do. But might see a different second half of the season from Butch.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, he's a very good coach. I played him now 3 times in the last month. The first 3 times I think I played him, I think he might have used to play like 10, 12 years ago. It might have been the SOMFA, in SOMSFA, briefly back then. I don't recall, but from what I am telling you firsthand, and you've played him, of course, as well now, he's a very good coach. So, and it's a pretty good team. So, he's earned these victories, even though there's been a lot of close games. And also, when we did our predictions before the season, we did not look at strength of schedule, really. We just kind of looked at the team and said, this is what this team looks good. So, like you said, this team has only played me. He beat me, and he played a very good game against me. No, he deserved to win, no problem there. So it was a very close game, but I feel like I could have won. It was a tough loss, but it wasn't like he was only getting 3 punt returns for touchdowns or something.
And the strength of his team is the low turnovers. He's only thrown 3 interceptions, because when people see Jamal Charles, they're going to give you the respect and call a lot more run than they normally would, which means Matt Ryan, who's already a low interception quarterback, is going to throw even less.
Yeah. Plus, when I played that team, and I bet he does this against everyone, he throws a ton of flat passes, I think. Now, you have his stats up there. What's Matt Ryan's completion percentage?
Let me share my screen so people can see what we're doing here.
Okay.
Hold on. what did I do here? Okay. So
By the way, Butch told me
Ryan,
he's looking forward to the broadcast.
Matt
Yeah.
Ryan is completing nearly 70% of his passes, 69.6, which is unheard of in a strat league.
Yeah, but now look at those receiver averages and the ones with receptions.
Yeah,
Well,
they're all
a couple
low. I
guys are
mean,
pretty low.
no,
Couple guys
I
are
actually
better.
a couple guys are okay. Hilton's got 14.4, Keenan Allen's 14.2, but yeah, there's a lot of
How many,
negative dunk
how
happening.
many catches for those two guys combined?
Allen and Hilton have 52 combined catches.
And he got
A lot of
179 completions.
Yeah, a lot of Jamal Charles, a lot of the tight ends, Scott Chandler, Jamal Charles, Michael Rivera. They're getting a lot of catches. They're among his leading receivers.
Yeah, he does use the vaunted 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver, 1 running back offense, which is extra dangerous with Charles because of his receiving ability. And he's got 2 decent receiving tight ends in Chandler and Rivera, and you can throw a lot of flats. And if you got a 4 or something running around on Hilton or Keenan Allen, you got to pay attention to those guys. So he comes in there with a real philosophy and a game plan. But he's not married to it. He'll throw a couple of bombs against me. He's not going to sit there and say, I'm only going to West Coast you so that you can, flood the flats all day long. So I thought he coached well against me. I just played him today in BR. I thought he coached pretty well there. So I think he's a good coach. And even though he's won a ton of close games, I wouldn't count him out certainly for the postseason as a fluke or something. I think when we look at the second half for this team, I noticed a lot of teams don't seem to have very tough schedules, with one notable exception, which we'll get to in a while. But I mean, third quarter, he's going to play Detroit's a pretty decent team. What are they, 5-3 or 4-4? They're 4-4. It's Don Mington. Green Bay's not bad, 4-4. Oakland's been playing excellent defensive football, 5-3. Then the fourth quarter, Baltimore is 5-3. Texans defending champs are 5-3. So he does have better teams coming in the second half, but again, it's not a murderer's row of teams really.
Yeah, and I should say it hasn't been all good luck for him. One stat that jumped out at me looking at it right now is his penalties. He has had almost twice as many penalties as his opponent. He has 50 penalties for 457 yards against him, while his opponents only have 36 penalties for 285 yards. So,
Okay.
that could even out and make some of these close wins into 2 or 3 score wins if you're able to extend some drives. But like I said, you don't really see these kind of stats. You see these kind of stats for a quarterback in the NFL, not in a strat league, not in a 24-team strat league. So he is doing well. He's coaching well, and he's where he's at. He's earned his spot, and I'm sure we'll be gunning for him. But right now, it looks good.
Yeah, I mean, I would say conservatively, this team should easily win at least 11 or 12 games. They're already 7-1, and even though he's got, I mean, I think the best teams on the schedule behind him. I mean, I think there are 5 teams in the league that are 6-2 or better, right? And
Yes.
And he already played. His only 2 teams are above 500 were 2 of those teams, Jacksonville and me. He doesn't play any of those. He has none of those teams left on his schedule. He has teams left.
Doesn't he have Kansas City?
No.
I'm looking at the wrong one. You're right. I'm looking at the wrong team.
Or maybe I'm looking at the wrong team. I think I clicked on your team.
So he has.
You're both looking at the wrong team.
Yes, you're right. He has Detroit.
Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay, Oakland, Baltimore, Cleveland, Houston, and Atlanta. I think Houston's the only team in that whole group that coming into the year we felt might be like let's say a Final Four, like a legitimate Final Four contender.
Yeah. So
I know the teams could make it, but I'm just saying in their predictions. So he should be in pretty good shape.
Yep, it sounds right.
But we'll see. Maybe lose a couple of close games. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Now, he's a good coach. He's 7-1. I mean, maybe he has a chance to go all the way and get that number 1 seed. We'll see what happens. I mean, if he gets to 12 wins or better with this team, he's done a great job. You got Matt Ryan and Jamal Charles, sure, but the rest of the team isn't that great. I don't think that you and I were floored by the team. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
he's weak with his pass rush, and he's got 4 linebackers all the way across. So that makes it a little bit tougher.
All right, so let's move on to Jacksonville Jay Villing, who I know listens to these shows meticulously.
6-2 with Mike Glennon at quarterback.
The rookie Glennon. as I like to say.
12 touchdowns and 14 interceptions.
By the way, you're doing the screen sharing now, right? So you go ahead and show the stuff.
I think we're both doing it. I mean, I'm sharing mine. I'm not sure if you're still sharing yours.
I am sharing mine. I just don't know if it's going back and forth or if it's locked on one.
Oh, good point. I think it's going back and forth. Yeah. So whoever's talking takes it over.
All right. And that looks like it might be a little confusing for them. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? But I guess they'll manage somehow. But the thing I hate here, you know what I don't know how to do? I don't know how to bring up the stats and then minimize them and then look at other stuff and then get the stats back. I always have to crash the program. What am I doing wrong?
I'm not sure. If you want to close it, Alt F4 or click that little red arrow, and then you want to get it back, you double click on it again.
What red arrow? I don't see a red arrow anywhere.
A red box. This thing right here. If you want to open this, you can open the stats up by double clicking on their name and then hit that red arrow to close it.
No, I know. I'm saying to minimize it. After I open the stats, I want to minimize the stats and look at other things in League Manager and then blow the stats back up. And I can't figure out how to do that.
Oh, it's at the very bottom of your League Manager. There's a little box over here. If you click that, it'll open it back up again. So minimize it and then open this up again.
All right, I'm not figuring it out. Let's just forget about it. Don't worry about it.
This is fascinating for the listeners. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's informative. We're doing, live tech support. They're listening in to the tech support calls. Exciting. Now you got the rookie Glennon. He said 6-2, and Jay's a very fine coach. He always seems to put up a good record, even when the team isn't always that great. Adrian Peterson, best running back card in the sets, got over 1,000 yards. Kind of a ho-hum year, 10.59 and a 5.4. Because, if you're a decent back, you're going to threaten to run for 2,000 yards in these leagues a lot of times. I'm more interested in the schedule than the stats. Okay. Look at this team. This team was 6-2. His losses were one-sided. He got waxed by Houston. Houston's had a very weird up and down first half, but he got waxed by Houston 37-3. Then he lost to Paul, half man, half ankle. It's 20-7. But then let's look at his victories. He beat Atlanta 34-31, beat Green Bay, that's Randy's team, by a field goal, beat Ed's scrappy 49ers, as Dennis would remind me, I'm sure, when we get to that team, 31-14, beat the team handily, beat the Bengals handily, and the Bengals only lost. So otherwise he was rolling, against Buffalo, against Indianapolis, Cincinnati, San Francisco, he was rolling, and then he won 2 close games. So 6-2, interesting. You win 2 close games, hasn't lost any close games. There, that means he's due to lose a close game in the second half. Who has he played that's good? Houston's good. San Diego's not bad, and Paul's a good coach. San Francisco, of course, Ed's a great coach, even though we don't like the personnel. Cincinnati's 7-1. So he's had some decent teams in the schedule. Second half, you got Baltimore's 5-3, Detroit 4-4, Kansas City 6-2. Oh, look at those last 3 games. He plays the Chiefs at 6-2. He plays you're 6-2. He plays Nathan, who's 5-3, and is probably underachieved so far. So that's a pretty brutal fourth quarter. He's got a couple of easy games in the second half. I think Miami, and he already played Buffalo, Miami, and even Cleveland's 5-3. I was confused now with Chicago. He's got a pretty tough second half schedule. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that he's going to run into a little bit more trouble. But again, when you have a premium running back, you're going to get those run calls. It's going to cut down on your turnovers. I'm actually surprised that Glennon's thrown so many turnovers or interceptions, because you think that with Adrian Peterson there, that they're going to focus on the run calls. But maybe they're afraid of Mike Glennon. Maybe they're afraid of the rookie Glennon.
It's interesting, because then now you're getting into strategy where different coaches. I've seen this a lot, like in Battle Royale, I think, particularly. Well, even though it's a different rule set with no dump off, it's a night and day. But the different approach when you have a good running back and not that good a quarterback. Some guys will go bomb crazy, all right, you're gonna get us run on me. I'm gonna try and really make you pay by hitting some bombs. Other guys say, you're gonna get us run on me. I'm gonna try and take the safe, completions and strafe you with flat passes and West Coast you, because even the quarterback who's below average, flat pass wrong is a pretty good play,
Right.
So it's, and obviously you can't do one thing 100% of the time, but so it's interesting. So I mean maybe Jay's got Josh Gordon. Maybe Jay's throwing down the field more to try and generate more pass calls, make teams a little bit scared. Now Josh is averaging 18 yards a catch 42 catches, 762 yards. I don't know. And, I mean, Glennon does throw some picks. It's not an awful interception percentage. But for modern standards, 2.2 is not too bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his card; it's effective.
No, his card doesn't really throw interceptions. Really, a less long pass, right? I don't know. Maybe he's just been unlucky.
Yeah, and that could help out with his tough second half schedule.
Yeah,
I think you're right. You made a great point. You can't just look at the quarterback when you factor in pass calls. You have to look at the receivers. If I see Josh Gordon out there, that's going to scare me and make me call pass, even though I see Adrian Peterson back there. So good stuff.
Absolutely, and he plays a 3-4 defense. His defense is kind of solid, not spectacular, but he's done a really nice job with it. He's only given up 175 points. And you know what? I want to skip down to a point before we get to some other teams. I was looking at like the points scored and points against. Now I wanted to mention that the Cleveland Browns at 5-3 are number 3 in the SSFA so far this year in points allowed at 160 points. But there was a huge gap between the top 2 teams and number 3. The top team is 110 points allowed. The Oakland Raiders, 5-3, 110 points allowed. That team's giving up less than 14 points a game under this rule set. Now he's only scored 143, so he must be running, punting, and then you've only given up 122 points. So you got the top 2 teams in scoring defense allowed. 110 and 122 points, and then bang, 160 points for the third team. So you two guys are doing a hell of a job, and it makes me interested to just hop down to Oakland real quick. I want to look at his stats, see what the hell he's doing.
Yeah, no, I played Ron when he was 3-0 in the first quarter, and our game was like 10-3, and we had a lot of those drives where you get down there to like the 40, 35-yard line, and you don't pick up the first down and you wind up kicking a field goal or trying a field goal and it misses, or you turn the ball over. It was just one of those grinded out defensive games. He calls a nice game on defense. I'm actually surprised that he's not doing better offensively, because you see he has been Roethlisberger. He's got a pretty decent card, and his running backs are of the variety where you don't really respect them enough to call run, so they run wild. Look at James Starks, 4.8 yards per carry, Mark Ingram 5.1, but I have a feeling it'll turn around and some of his struggles will go away in the second half.
Well, it's interesting now. Is that Ron Martin or Ron Dickinson? I'm always getting these guys confused in these non-modern.
This is Ron Dickinson, a.k.a. Oregon Ron, a.k.a. the General. If you have more than one nickname, you're in trouble, when you're playing that guy.
Okay, a.k.a. Paxel on AM. I know Ron Dickinson very well because we played in IFL together for many, many years. And funny story, I swear to God, for like 7 or 8 years, I had ridiculous luck against him every single time we played. Every single time. And I beat him I had to beat him at least 10 straight games. One game, it was like 3rd and goal from the 8, like 22 seconds left. I either had one timeout or no timeouts, and like an off tackle with Ken Willard because this is old time stuff. And I rolled the only roll on my card that would have been a touchdown. It was like a 9. It was like a 9 on my card. The only roll that would have been a touchdown. To win the game, he's like, that was the only roll, right? I was like, yes, I know.
Yeah, it's his own fault for not keying. He should have keyed that guy.
Exactly. But now in recent years, it's turned around. We got like a watershed moment, like 2 or 3 years ago, where we played this game and every roll went his way and he blew me out, and then he beat me like a couple more, and now but we've agreed that he still has like another 6 years of beating me with to make it back. And he's an excellent coach. Ron's a very good coach. I think he's a better coach. Different styles of rules matter. I think he's like a great coach with the older seasons. I think with the newer seasons, he's still a good coach, but I think with the older seasons where he really shines. So that's like his thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think he plays like the tournaments and stuff like that with the old team. So that would make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it makes definitely.
Maybe prefers that style, but the team. Yeah, I mean, the thing with Big Ben, I know you're saying the offense, you think they would score more points, but Big Ben's card it's a weird card. His short pass is really not that good. I used him in SOMSFA before I bowed out after the first month, but he's got a great flat pass card, pretty good long pass wrong card. He's got picks on right. So you kind of get a flat pass a lot with him. His short pass right card is really not that good for a big name quarterback who had a good year. So I can see where that could be a problem. And then when you mentioned, Mark Ingram's card is really, James Stark's card is not too bad. Mark Ingram's card is not good. They mentioned the rushing average is 5.1 and 4.8. Good by NFL standards, not that great for this family of strat leagues or modern strat where it seems like, anybody could run for at least a 5.3, I would say, practically. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point. We are using the average run D card, and then everybody calls pass, so that boosts it naturally. But yeah,
I do notice that Brandon Whedon had 24 attempts, 16 to 24, didn't play too badly. So maybe Big Ben missed a game or a lot of a game that could factor into it. Look at the pass defense; he's giving up 48.9% against the pass. And he's only going to 4.3 yards a carry. So he's doing it great. He's doing it great on both sides of the both parts of the defense versus the run and versus the pass. So good for him. We'll look at his schedule, see what he's doing in the second half.
Well, I want to look at his defensive personnel.
All right,
I want to look at his computer. Let's look at his. Does he have a ton of 5s and 6s? No, he's.
By the way, you know that at this rate we're definitely going more than an hour.
Yes, we got to hurry up. Let's go pace.
What is your what's your cutoff time right now? It's 9:10 Pacific.
I'd say 10 is probably my cutoff. So
all right,
I'll
try and watch the clock a little bit. This is good. I'm looking at his team defensive cards. It's very valuable information.
Okay, close it out. Let's go to the next team.
No. We can finish, Ron. He plays a 4-3. He goes 4-5-5-5 with no down lineman who can rush. He goes 6-4-6 at linebacker with good blitzing on the outside. 4-4-6-4. This is not a second. This is not a team. This is not a defense that you predict is going to be giving up 13.8 points a game. He can do some things and coach around it, but he's doing a great job coaching.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see who he played so far, because this is a really interesting story. There's a few teams that are interesting, and we'll go fast on some of these, especially the 2-6 and under teams. But let's see. We just lost like 5 of our audience because those guys who are 2-6 are. I'm not going to listen.
Oh, they're like, come on.
What can I tell you? Win some games. No, I'm teasing. I was down there for years in the fall league. Beat Washington 41-1.
Don't worry, guys. We'll get to your team.
Yeah. That'll be in the Cellar Dweller edition. We'll do that after. No. I can't help myself. I make enemies every time we do this. Yes, and I'm going on. Let's see. He lost a close game to you, 10-3. Let's see. Beat the Saints 23. They're not very good. Beat Denver. They're not very good. Beat Arizona. They're not very good. Boy, this is not exactly a murderer's row. Beat Indianapolis. They're not very good. Beat Buffalo. Lost to Buffalo. He's Buffalo's victory. 20-10. Buffalo's 1-7. Buffalo's almost being Stan. I love you and thank you for taking over my SOMSFA team, but he's having a rough go of it in his first go around in the SSFA. I don't think the personnel is that awful. It's not good. It's not awful, but he's being outscored almost 2-1, 119-237. I play him this block actually. I don't but I think he's new to online strat, so he'll come around. A lot of guys will like that, and now they're very good coaches.
Yes. And we need more people. Let's face it. This is a niche hobby, a niche audience. So the more new people that we attract and that we get to like the game, the better. We need that to survive.
Yes, absolutely. We need new people, and we need them with teams on my schedule. That's what we need.
Yes, fresh.
New to the game. But you learn in a hurry. Guys learn in a hurry. So, like usually maybe a year, 18 months. I've seen guys go from brand new to 18 months later. They're very good. So hang in there, Stan. So Oakland, and he lost to Detroit. He's got 5 wins, but has he beaten anybody? No, he hasn't beaten anybody within record. And all these teams, some of these teams have dreadful records that he's beaten. They're 2-6 and stuff. And then he's coming up this quarter. He's got Baltimore, Miami, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. So he's got 3 pretty good teams this quarter. Another one is struggling. Then he's got Kansas City and San Diego last block, but Chicago, Minnesota not that good. So I don't know. The jury's still. I assume he'll start giving up some more points against some better teams. So that'll be interesting to watch and see how Ron does, because I don't care who's on the schedule, giving up 110 points in 8 games in a draft league, in the 2014 draft league, but we're using average. We're not using autumn wind style defenses. That's amazing. So
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing what happens there. So let's go back to the top of the schedule. I don't want to skip Kansas City with Dan Morin, grandson of Milt Morin. I have confirmed that unofficially.
Very good.
I've confirmed that in my mind. Okay. This guy joined one of the leagues last year. I forget if this is his first or second SSFA year. I know the fall was his first SOMSFA season. I played him last year in SSFA because he gets run all the time. And Peyton Manning threw for over 500 yards. But he's a very good coach. Even though he gets a lot of run against me, I did have Marshawn Lynch and CJ Spiller. I came away saying, this guy's a very good coach. I just had that feeling about him, and he's had nothing but success really since then. So 6-2, not a surprise. I mean, coaching is really important. So when you see a guy who can coach, there's a reason why these guys tend to make the playoffs almost every year, even if their team isn't always look like an obvious playoff team. He's got Aaron Rodgers and like no running backs. His offensive line is awful. Look at that. 4-4-4-0, 5-5, 0-3-4-5. Maybe he played Joe Bergerson at right guard at 0-2 for the blocking. I don't know. But and he's got Aaron Rodgers putting up big stats. Now there's definitely not. I know Matt Ryan's putting up big stats. I know Aaron Rodgers putting up big stats. There is one quarterback who's maybe doing a little better than those guys. We'll talk about him in a little while. But defensively, 4-3, goes 4-4-5-6. I feel like I played this team. 4-4-0. Look at that back seven. 4-4-0, 4-4-4-4. That is awful. And this guy is 6-2.
Amazing. Great job, Dan.
There's no way I picked this team for the playoffs.
I cannot find our predictions. I'm going to have to go back and watch that podcast and write them down. I don't know.
I thought about trying to do that today, but I had a double header and I couldn't squeeze it in. I have very good files for that. If I have something strat oriented, it is in the proper league, in the proper year, in the proper sub folder. So you might want to look into that, Mr. Crowley.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
I'll work on that.
Kansas City 6-2. Who has he played so far? Lost a 1-point game to Rowdy Randy's Packers, 21-20. Lost a 7-point game to Ed and his coaching expertise. He beat Nathan 32-21. Beat the Broncos only by 4. Beat Minnesota by 10. Beat the Colts by 8. Beat the Bears by 8. Beat Detroit 23-10. Detroit's that bad. So, again, not a lot of really good teams on the schedule. The St. Louis victory is impressive. The rest of the way, you got Miami. Houston's pretty good. New Orleans, no. Cleveland, it's just 5-3 right now. Oakland, we just talked about Jacksonville. So he's got San Diego. He's got some tough teams in the second half, but also some more second half of the league type teams. So, I mean, he'll probably win at least 11 games, I think, the way he's played so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I think the best thing about him winning is the recaps that he does on the forum. The more people that we can do to do those write-ups like you and I do, you do a better job than I do, but I at least try to make sure I cover my games. Dan does that as well and has been doing a good job. Makes it entertaining to check the forum every day and read somebody's recap.
Well, he does do a good job. I would not be so quick to say I do better than you or better than anyone, really, because I feel like mine is so long. I wonder if anyone actually reads my entire recap. I sit there and I do this. I start doing the recap. And I'm like, maybe I should do a summarized one. And I'm like, this was a good game. This was an important play. Next thing you know, I've written 8 Microsoft Word pages of a recap. It takes me as long to write the recap as it does to play the game. So I'm considering going to a summarized style. What do you think about that?
I think do something. As long as you're doing something, it's good. I think the long ones are interesting. I mean, maybe more so for yourself to look back years from now to remember what the key plays were in the game. Because let's face it, you could just post a box score and a couple of sentences like I do, and you're really not getting a feel for the game. So if you're going to pick between one or the other, I prefer your style of recap. So keep doing that.
We definitely have a good cop, bad cop dynamic here on this on our shows. Dennis is always missing. No, you got to plug away. You got to get it. I'm like, come on, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, Dennis you're the good cop. It's Officer Crowley. You want Officer Crowley. You want Officer Cook.
There you go.
I was impressed with this team. This team got no running backs. Maurice Jones-Drew and Bobby Rainey, as running backs. He's throwing the ball more than 60% of the time. And look at Aaron Rodgers' stats: 60.8 completed, 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a little high. But considering you're throwing the ball all the time, this team never generates a run call. I mean, look at this. Come on, look at the offensive line and those running backs. and yet he's moving the ball and he's putting enough points on the board. So I think he's done a hell of a job. We already said he's a good coach. Kansas City 6-2, a bit of a surprise, but not if you look at the coach and say he's a good coach. So good job by him. Now there's a team currently fourth in the standings. These next two teams, for some reason, it seems like we might spend more time on these than others. I'm not sure. The audience may have to start the stop clock. We'll see. JETS, New York Jets. Coach,
how about them Jets? 17 touchdowns and 2 interceptions for one Peyton Manning. How in the heck are you doing that?
Nice
it is.
Spreadsheets, bro.
There you go. It's all about the sheets.
Now, should I talk about my own team, or should I let you analyze them and scrutinize them?
No, you do what you do. Keep talking, but I'll look at them real quick. I have my screen sharing back on. A pretty dominant statistical season so far for Peyton Manning. 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 105 quarterback rating. I bet you that leads the league. And Marshawn Lynch. What's wrong, Marshawn? Only 925 yards. He's only run the ball 146 times. A 2-to-1 run-to-pass ratio, which means you see Lynch back there. You know that Tom at one point is going to bust him out and start running him, but you keep getting hammered by Peyton Manning, so you can't really call the run. And Peyton's completing his passes, 63% completion percentage. Again, that's normal for the NFL, or a little below average, but that is outstanding for a 2014 draft league, even with the average pass defense cards. Spreading the ball around, Larry Fitzgerald, Jordan Reed are the top 2 receivers. The best thing I like is Kenny Stills and his 23.1 average, and Fitzgerald for his 15.5 average. So you're not dinking and dunking, you're airing it out, getting those guys involved. Of course, I would have want Lynch to have 1,500 yards by now, but that's just me wanting to, stat whore him out. But you've picked off the opponent 9 times, which is good. The fumbles are about even. Penalties are about even. All in all, it's a good season. 6-2 seems about right. Maybe 7-1 with that type of quarterback performance. But let's look at your losses. You had that 1-point loss to Cincinnati that we talked about on a 52-yard field goal by Dan Carpenter with 1 minute and 7 seconds left.
I forgot when we talked about Cincinnati before. I forgot that in that game, he scored a touchdown with like 2 minutes to go, then missed a 2-point conversion to tie the game, then recovered an onside kick, and then hit a 52-yard field goal 2-6 to win. I forgot that was how the game ended. So, I do feel like I don't like saying this publicly. No one should really say it publicly because it could be considered bad sportsmanship. I do feel like I should have won that game, but in fairness, I think I should have lost the Houston game. I find usually during a season, a lot of there'll be a game where your luck is so great that a chimpanzee could win the game. It doesn't matter who's coaching, win the game. Then there's another game where your luck is so bad that Vince Lombardi would lose the game. If he played Strat.
Of course he plays Strat.
But then you also, of course, that's what am I thinking? But then also you tend to get a game that maybe you should have won that you lost, and a game that you should have lost that you won. So I do feel like for the most part that stuff evens out. You just hope that you don't get a game like that in the postseason. You hate to have a postseason game where you get luck to death, or if you luck the other guy to death, and he's no one likes to really see that. And you also hate to have a posting in that you really feel like you should have won, you lost. Someone's going to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, and I think that even in that game, when you went down by 25-24 with 1 minute left in the game, I bet you still feel good about your chances of driving down and getting a field goal. I don't think the game ended on that field goal. I'm sure you thought you had a chance to get back in it in the last minute.
You know how the game ended?
Tell me.
Game ended on a 4th and 1 offensive 4th and 1.
Oh, is this the one where you spiked the ball with?
Yes, 4th and 1 off tackle right. Marshawn Lynch against the defensive tackle 0. Guess pass. I rolled 5 on my card. The fumble split, no yards. I turned the ball over and downs.
Wow, brutal. And
that was still in my own territory.
Right.
I was at like my own 37. But you'd hope you could get to 1 yard in that situation when the guy gets us wrong, and he's got a defensive tackle 0 and you got Marshawn Lynch. But hey, you roll that 5 fumble. I don't care if Jim Brown is back there. You're not doing much.
Right. Yep. And then your other loss was to Baltimore, 24-19, where you got a last minute touchdown to make it look a little closer, but it looks like you had some rotten luck in that game.
Well, that what that game was about. I remember that game was early in the season. Might have been my first game. I don't remember. That game was about Cam Newton was putting on a clinic. He was throwing short passes with Cam Newton. He was connecting them all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, for like 2.5 quarters, it seemed like, and he did a nice job with his team. And sometimes I find it takes me a couple of games to really get into the rhythm with the team. But look, he had 359 yards offense. We talked about my offensive stats. I only had 280 yards offense in that game. Cam was 27 of 46 for 311 yards. And I think he didn't do much in the last quarter and a half. Cam was just red hot like the first 2.5 quarters. He was just every play was like a short pass. It seemed like they were all completed no matter what it did. So, but you're not going to win every game. I probably should have. I mean, there's games I won that were close. I said about someone else. Yeah, I beat Randy 28-21. I mean, that was back and forth. Randy was in that game the whole time. The Houston game, I won 37-34. On the last play of overtime, on a field goal on the last play of overtime. He tied the game in the last play of regulation, but I probably should have lost that game. I think I had some kind of BS luck in the second half to take the lead in that game. So I probably should have lost the Houston game. Baltimore guy played well. Cincinnati guy played well. That Cincinnati game was tough. But between the Cincinnati and Houston, I should have gone 1-1. Maybe just I should have beat Cincinnati and lost to Houston. So either way, it would have been 6-2.
It looks like you played a lot of the top teams already too. You played Houston, you played Cincinnati, played Baltimore. That's 3 teams that are 5-3 or better, and you played St. Louis as well. So half your games were against very good teams.
Yeah, my second quarter block was pretty tough because it was Cincinnati 7-1. St. Louis is 5-3, but we picked them to make the Super Bowl, so maybe underachieving. Houston's 5-2, the defending champs, and they still have a real good team. So those 3 teams are tough. And then Randy 4-4 with Nick Foles and Sean McCoy. Not exactly a day at the beach. I did have in the first quarter, Indianapolis, Chicago, and the Saints, who are all struggling mightily. My third quarter block is, outside of the Seattle game. No, that's the fourth quarter.
That's fourth quarter game, yeah.
My third quarter block, I played Buffalo and Minnesota.
Yep.
Minnesota's 3-5. I thought they were doing worse than that. Okay. San Diego's 4-4 and Atlanta's 4-4. None of those teams, I think, we picked to make the playoffs. Maybe we liked Atlanta a little bit. So that's an easy block for me. And then even in the last quarter, I mean, I play Seattle. That's real tough. Washington, I think, is a good team. He's struggled at 4-4. He has had a very tough schedule.
Yeah.
He's the one team that's been like, wow, this guy's played everybody. And the rest of the way is not much easier for him. So he got a bad break there. But yeah, I think the schedule, I'm really hoping, to be honest, I'm hoping to go 10-2 because none of these teams in the third quarter really should beat me, all things being equal. Although Paul's an excellent coach. And look, my team's pretty good. My team's playing better than I thought they were going to play. And I'm pleased with it so far. Manning is on pace to throw for over 5,000 yards, to be the first guy in league history. But
so you mean you think you're going to go 6-2 over the last?
I hope to sweep the third quarter block. It'll be 10-2, and then we'll see.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I know what's going to happen in the fourth quarter. Outside of Denver, the other teams are all good, especially your team. So I wouldn't want anything there. But I'm really going to try and focus and not try and take any of these teams in the third quarter too easily.
Right, San Diego's tough. San Diego's Paul.
They're going to get the full spreadsheet treatment. I've been playing well against Paul lately, so
good. I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick break to get my kids to bed. Go ahead and talk about your team more, and I'll be right back.
Well, I think we heard enough about my team.
Okay, we'll go on to the next team.
Well, you're the next team. Or should I skip you? I'll skip you and come back to you. Okay, we'll skip okay. For now. All right, we're going to skip the Seattle. Good. We're going to skip the Seattle Seahawks. All you need to know about them is that Russell Wilson is clearly an overrated football player. The play calling in the Super Bowl was awful. They're never going to make the championship game again, and that's pretty much all there is to say about the NFL Seahawks. As I take advantage of Dennis's time away from the keyboard, AFK, it's his loss and our gain. No, he will hear that in the rebroadcast. Dennis's team, the Seattle Seahawks, I will start talking about them. I should wait, I guess. We'll wait. He's done a hell of a job with the points allowed. I don't know how these guys give up 14 and 15 points a game with this rule set. There's a reason why these guys do well with Dennis as well every year. We'll skip to the next team for now. Baltimore Ravens, 5-3, despite being outscored by 16 points. Usually that means you've had a couple of blowout losses. He lost to Houston 45-24, lost to St. Louis 2015. That was a close game. And lost to Cleveland 30-22. So all of his losses were to winning teams. 3 teams out of 5 and 3. 2 of those games were close. So that's a good show by the Ravens there. That's Jeff, Oregon Duck Jeff. And the wins then are probably close. That's why his point differential is probably low. He beat Paul Mankiewicz by a field goal, 32-29. He beat me. That's a big win for him because my team is 6-2. So he's 24-19. He's coached well in that game. Beat Don, who's having a good year, I think. He's 4-4. He's in the mix. 2017 by a field goal. Beat the Saints by only a field goal. Saints are a little scrappy. They're only 1-7, but they gave me a hard time. And their point differential is not awful for a team that's 1-7. So they're a little scrappy. Being outscored by 50 and then 1-7, that's not too bad for a 1-win team. Beat the Packers, Randy 27-23. So we see another team. He's got 1, 2, 3. He's got 3 victories by a field goal or less. He's 3-0 in games decided by a field goal or less. 4-0 in games decided by 4 points or less. Usually, if you look at the advanced stats guys, they see in the NFL that teams tend to go 500 in those games. If you look at almost any 2 or 3 year run, and it tends to be maybe a bounce of the ball a little bit. What makes those teams win one year and lose the next year. Meanwhile, commentators and fans say, "Oh, they figured out how to win. They're a tough, gritty team." Blah 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 blah. Dennis, is that you having returned? No, it isn't. I heard some shifting of microphones, but that's all it was a shifting of the microphone. But hey, winning those close games in Strat, I think requires a lot of coaching. You get down to those last few minutes. So I think I don't really buy into the 50-50 theory when it comes to Strat football. But believe it or not, we probably have more control on a per play basis than the NFL coaches do. The NFL coaches have far more control on the overall performance of a player for the whole season. But we, I think, have more control on a play to play. I think the play calling is probably almost more important in Strato than in NFL, assuming you don't have a total idiot calling your NFL plays. Rich Kotite or somebody. Second half of the season for the Ravens, he's only scored 187 points. He's got a weird team. Cam Newton and then Arian Foster with half the season attempts. You back, Dennis? Baltimore's second half. They play Oakland, who we talked about before. Jacksonville, that's a tough team, 6-2. San Francisco, the commission's 4-4. It's a bad team, but he's coaching the hell out of it right now. So that's a tough slate of 3 games. Chicago is 1-7, but Chicago is not a bad team. Don't go to sleep on the Bears if you got to play them in the second half. They've underachieved a little bit. Then in the last quarter, he plays Cincinnati 7-1, Atlanta 4-4, Washington 4-4. Washington's probably better than that. They just have had a really tough schedule. And then the Colts, so that second half slate for the Ravens is not encouraging. There's only 2 games. Maybe where you say, boy, I don't know. In that third quarter, I don't know what. Maybe the Chicago game is the only game I guess he should win by record. And Indianapolis in the 4th game. So the rest of them will be dogfights. So Jeff's gonna have his work cut out for him to get to 9-7, despite the 5-3 start. And if he does, it'll be a nice job by him with this team.
So yeah, I'm back. Have you talked about the 7 touchdowns and 19 interceptions, and he still has a winning record? That's pretty impressive.
I didn't even look at the stats. I looked at just the teams he played in the schedule. He's won a few close games. He's lost to the good teams he's played, except for me. He's 4-0 in games decided by 4 points or less. He's got a very tough schedule coming up, so it's going to be a little rough, I think, for him. If he makes the playoffs, I think it's a good job because you got a pretty decent team, not a great team. He's coaching pretty well. Wow, 7 touchdowns, 19 interceptions.
That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, some of that comes from the fact that he's gotten blown out a couple times, but
he's only gotten blown out once, really.
Well, yeah, against Houston, I guess you're right. But the Cleveland lost giving up 30 points. You can't really consider that a blowout. But yeah, he's won despite those interceptions.
And he's throwing the ball a lot. 312 attempts, 192 rushes. Because no one to run the ball really besides Arian Foster and Cam Newton. Nobody wants to run the ball with. But I don't know if you're going to have that type of ratio of Cam Newton you're probably not going to have a lot of offensive success, I guess. And what a weird team. I mean, he's only outgaining the guy by 100 some yards. He's -6 in turnovers. He's on the positive side, 120 yards of penalties, so that's good.
He's getting a lot of must runs by Cam. Cam has 75 rushing attempts in 8 games, so he's averaging, almost 9 carries a game, over 9 carries a game. So some of that's coming from end runs. I'm sure he has like 6 end runs, like 6 or 7 of those that he throws in, but most of those are coming on must runs. I would guess, because they're not calling run, they're calling pass.
I would guess that they're almost all on must runs, because Cam didn't have that great an average last year, so his end run card is really not that appetizing. Even his must run card is a little shaky. It's not bad, but it's not as good as you'd like, and as good as most running quarterbacks tend to be usually. So this is kind of a strange team. I'm looking for other stats. Kick returns, they look pretty good. 392 yards and 16 returns. Maybe he's got a touchdown or something down there. His punt return yardage is better than the opponent as well. He's got a touchdown on punt returns, nothing on kick returns. And he's won a lot of close games. He's making the right calls down the stretch. I was saying that I think in Strat, I think you can win if you win a lot of close games. It is a lot of times because of coaching. Whereas in the NFL, like the advanced stats guys will tell you that pretty much if you look at any team or any coach over a 2 or 3 year run, they tend to go about 500 in games decided by a field goal or less. But I think we actually have probably more control on a play-by-play basis than the NFL coach, whereas he has much more control over, how the overall team performs and, for the training camp and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right, I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's go. So we've finished Baltimore. He's done a nice job. He's got some crazy stats. He's won a lot of close games. He has a very tough schedule coming up in the third quarter. He's got to play Oakland, Jacksonville, San Francisco, Cincinnati, and Washington in the second half. So I think it's a tough haul, and if he makes the plays, he's done a nice job. Let's go back one to the Seattle Sea Dogs. Isn't that what they're called?
Yes, the Seattle Shuriken, Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Sea Dogs, whatever you want to call us.
Just don't call us late for dinner.
No, just don't call us late for the turnover train. Throw those picks against us.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, the first thing that jumped out of me, your team, 122 points allowed in 8 games. That's outstanding. You've only scored 172 points. What's up with that?
It's not your grandparents' Seattle Seahawks. The key offensive pieces, are either getting a little up there or struggling a little bit. Russell Wilson, this has got to be the worst statistical first half of the season I've had with him. Frank Gore is not Marshawn Lynch. He's not going to get you a call run as much, but his card's still effective. But Wilson's struggling a little bit. 4 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, only completing 49. We talked about guys like Matt Ryan completing almost 70% and Peyton Manning completing 63%. Wilson's completing 49.1% of his passes. You tell me, what am I doing wrong?
So what you're telling me is that Strat is foreshadowing Russell Wilson's demise as an NFL quarterback next year.
But right as soon as he signs that big contract, he's going right in the tank.
Oh, what are you doing wrong? I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. I know his flat pass card isn't that great, isn't that good, but maybe not throwing enough flat passes because of it. Also, that's probably a lot of it because you want to get those must runs. You want to throw short and long passes. If they're going to call run, you want to hit them with short and long passes. So you're not getting those sweet flat pass 3-yard completions that artificially inflate the old completion percentage, baby. That could be.
I would agree with that, and I think that the receivers that I have are not as good as the receivers I've had in other leagues. Michael Floyd's got a good card, explosive. Roddy White's got an excellent card, but I don't have that consistent. Those hits, those are the only two. And Kendall Wright coming in as a third wide receiver, he's maxed out, but his yards per catch is very low.
Yeah, and he's not maxed out deep. He's maxed out
flat and short.
So he's not as scary.
Right,
Wes Welker type of maxed out card.
Exactly. So I'm not worried about it. I'm happy with the way the defense is definitely overperforming right now. So there's still time to turn it around as far as his statistics, but it's all about the victories. We're winning. We've won a couple of close games, but most of our wins have actually been, okay, been comfortable because of the defense.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's just like the NFL. You got the great running game, you got the excellent defense, so you don't need. So that's why Russell Wilson. You can live with Russell Wilson when you have that type of stuff, right, Dennis?
Absolutely.
All right. No, I'm honestly needling Dennis. He's not taking the bait because he knows we're up against the clock. But Jesus, Dennis, you've got almost 1,700 yards rushing. You're averaging over 200 yards rushing a game. I had a team in SSFA a few years ago that averaged over 200 yards rushing a game for the season. You're averaging over 200 yards rushing a game. You're out rushing. You're running for more yards than you're passing. It's one thing to run the ball more than you pass it. It's another thing to run for more yards than you're throwing for. You've run for almost 1,700 yards. You only have 1,250 yards passing. I don't think I've ever seen that in a modern league with the dump off. Maybe you'll get it in Battle Royale. I don't think you've seen it in a modern league with the dump off anywhere. It's amazing. And you've only been sacked 8 times, so it's not like, the quarterback's been sacked 30 times, so there's no dump offs. That's incredible to me. Now, of course, Wilson gets a lot of must runs, 374 yards, but it's not like he's got 700 must run yards.
No, and he does have a very attractive end run card, and I use it quite a bit.
I've been on the receiving end of that in various leagues. I like the run defense. You're getting like 4.3 yards a carry, so you're not conceding the run. Now, your pass numbers aren't as good as I might like, but you got 24 sacks. And you have, and 24 sacks is nice, but it's interesting. It's like your pass defense is playing okay, but because the run defense is playing so good, overall the defense is playing well.
Yeah, I think
you're minus 4 in turnovers.
Yeah,
no, you're plus 4 in turnovers. You're plus 4 in turnovers.
Plus 4, but I have 2 4s in the back. I have a 4 strong safety, 4 right cornerback. So my pass defense is definitely not as strong as I'd like, but you do it. You can't have everything in every league. So this is a good, not a great team. I definitely like my SOMSFA team better, but it's getting the job done so far.
All right, and let's see what was the schedule like so far. Let's see, you beat Cleveland. They're 5-3. You beat the Raiders. He's 5-3. Let's see, you lost to the Cardinals. Nice job there.
That's probably awful. Yeah, but that was one of those games where it's just like,
I know.
One of those early like, what am I doing with this team games?
Yeah, he's 3-5. He's only been outscored by 14 points. So I don't think I've looked over his roster too closely, but that's not bad. And he's a former champion, so I'm assuming he's a good coach. The roster fell into pretty hard times the last couple of years. He lost to Paul 2010 in the second block. Beat the Vikings. You have English language. You have had hardly any close games. You lost by 17. You lost by 10. You have a victory by 6 and a victory by 7, but pretty much, it's either like you're either out of it or you're, and you're not like winning 40-3, but you're winning 29-10, 20-9, 34-24. Like 10-point type of victories. So that's interesting to me. The second block, you had San Diego, you had Washington. So not the toughest schedule. One thing I always overlook, when you have a real good team, your schedule is usually going to be easier than other people's because you don't play yourself.
Right, exactly.
You don't have to face the Seahawks on the schedule. So that's one less team that can even give you a tough schedule.
But even with that, I seem to be avoiding like I don't have Cincinnati on my schedule, although frankly I would be fine if he was.
Circle that, Butch, for the playoffs.
Bring it. Oh, Dan on my schedule. I don't see Kansas City either. So, I mean, that's another team I've missed that is having a good year. So, 2 of the top 4 teams, they're not on my schedule. I mean, record-wise, at least. Yeah,
I'm the only top 4 team on your schedule right now. Third quarter block, though, you do play Green Bay. Randy's got a pretty good team. He's 4-4 right now. You play Nathan 5-3. That's a good team.
Yep.
Detroit 4-4, not bad. Fourth quarter, you got me. I'm 6-2.
And
Jacksonville 6-2, and then you got Ed. So
fourth
quarter is tough, and the second half schedule is not the easiest. But I'm sure you're always there every year. You always win. You always win at least 11 games. It seems like. So I would assume that you're probably going to go 12-4 again or something. If you had to, no one likes to do this. That's why I'm asking you, since you already did my team. If you had to pick what your record should be at the end, what your record will be at the end of this year, what do you think it'll be?
I would say 11-5, 12-4.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
I forgot to mention one quick stat about the Jets because you never get enough Jets information on these programs. Mario Williams has 12 sacks in 8 games, which is crazy. He's only a 6'12", Last year he was like a 6'11", and he had like 5 sacks the whole year. But the real stat that is Cullen Jenkins. He's like a defensive tackle, 5'5". He has 7 sacks.
Nice. He's going up against those 5'3", 4'3" guards that are
well. What he's really doing is he's cleaning up on the old must-run 0-yard sack. He's got, I think, 3 must-run 0-yard sacks and like a must-run -2 sack. So
nice.
When the contract comes, he's not going to point out that. He's going to look at the total number of sacks. All right, so I did the Ravens. Let's go down to Cleveland, 5-3. He's having a pretty nice little year. I think this was a team that, again, we thought was a pretty good team, but not a great team. You may have picked him for the playoffs. I may have not. I don't remember. Although this is the guy that wanted – this is the guy where – no, we thought he was not going to make the playoffs. Right. He was the guy that wanted to get Frank Gore from you, had the draft day trade debacle, and then look at the team and said, boy, this guy needs a running back. I think we thought he was going to struggle, and he's doing well so far. He's 5-3. He's got Alex Smith. He's got Ben Tate, doesn't have the best running backs. He's got the big receivers. Des Bryant, Demarius Thomas. I thought, I tried to trade for Kellen Winslow because I thought he was going to go for the year. He wouldn't give him to me for like a 5 next year, so I had to draft Jordan Reed in the second round. The defense, 6'5", 5'0", 5'4", 5'6", 4'5". This is not a really strong team on paper. So he's doing a nice job. He's now scored by 5. It's a very nice job to get to 5-3. Let's see who he's been playing now. The victories against Miami, he's not very good. Buffalo is not very good. New Orleans is not very good. San Francisco, 4-4, and that's a great coach. That's a nice victory.
Yep.
And Baltimore, 30-22. Baltimore's, we just said, not a pushover. They're 5-3 as well. So that's not a bad victory. So 3 cakewalks. And boy, when these bad teams get good, and my team ever gets bad, they're gonna run up the score. It's like Sam White and Jerry Glanville. They're gonna be all over me. I can't help it. I'm trying to just speak my mind, I guess. I think it makes for a more entertaining program. He lost to you by 10. Not an awful showing. Lost only by field goal to Texans, 22-19. And then look, everyone's going to get blown out every now and then. He had a blowout loss to the Chargers, 34-6, and Paul's a good coach. Rest of the way, he's got to play. Jacksonville's good. Washington's pretty good. Oakland's 5-3. Well, that's a tough block. Kansas City, his third quarter block, that's going to make or break his season probably. You're going to play Jacksonville, Kansas City. They're both 6-2. Yep. Play Oakland 5-3 and being very stingy on defense. And Ron's a good coach. Then Washington's only 4-4, but he's a very tough schedule, and that's a pretty good team. And he said the guy can coach, so that's a really brutal block. Then he ends up, and then he's going to play Cincinnati in the final block. So that's, and then Green Bay's 4-4, and then you got Denver, and even Detroit's 4-4. So he only got one losing team on a second half schedule. All of those teams are near the top half of the league. So good luck, Dan. He's he's 5-3, and he gets to 4-4. He'll be in some kind of postseason play, and if he makes it, it'll be just like Baltimore. It'll be a good job because the schedule is getting a lot harder in the second half of the Browns.
Yep, you're right.
Moving on to the Texans, we're going to move on a little more rapidly if we can because Dennis has got children itching to go. Do you already put the kids to sleep or no? Dennis,
yeah, they're.
But you're afraid to tell me yes because you know they're not going to want to go on longer. Anyway.
No, they're asleep. My oldest is still doing homework, but the youngest ones are all in bed. So
okay, you know what you do? Just ask me a question and then you walk away and put the kid to bed. And by the time my answer is done, you're back.
I know. I have to make sure I'm sharing my screen then, so you can't see me leave.
Okay, so, there you go. I'm not looking at your screen. I'm looking at mine. So there. Houston Texans. This is interesting. The defending champions, 237 points of offense. Is that right? Yeah, that's the number 2 offense in the league. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4. I counted it 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 teams have 200 points or more. And 200 points is 25 points a game. I would have thought more than 9 teams would have got that mark. What do you think?
Well, it's that strong defense that we talked about from Oakland and myself and the Jets and Kansas City. All these guys are calling good defensive games. That's keeping the scoring down.
Don't forget Cleveland, 160 points allowed, and San Diego. My Jets aren't that great with the points allowed. There's a solid number, but there's a number of teams doing better. There's 8 teams allowing 200 points or more. Interesting. Okay. But the Texans, I think he's had a really tough schedule and kind of a wild year so far. He's got Tom Brady. Who's he got running the ball in that team? I forget. I played that team.
His team is Andre Ellington and Chris Ivory are the main ball carriers.
Okay, yeah, we had an epic game. I'd like to see a little Kendall Hunter action in there.
Yeah,
run card. No one wants to use Kendall Hunter. Why not?
I don't know. I think he was
on my SOMSFA team. I used him a little bit in those 4 games I played.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, he can't really run inside. You can run a little off tackle, mostly then run only. But you got Tom Brady, And Chris Ivory is kind of an all or nothing guy. Kendall Hunter and run wrong. That's not a bad play. So, yeah, he's still one of those like Tom Brady and not a lot else. No, that's not true. He won the championship last year. You mentioned Ellington. Whatever. I'm out of my mind. I'm rusty. I'm rambling. The defense 5-5-6, 4-6-4-5. I remember this team. 4-5-4-5.
Lots of pass rush. Yep.
Yeah. I think I was hitting with a lot of flat passes and
that Kyle Williams. That Kyle Williams card is, that's one of my favorites. 6'11" as a defensive tackle. You go into a 3-3-5, and he's a 5'11" nose tackle. You're going to get a lot of sacks just from having him on the field.
Well, didn't you trade up to draft Ndamukong Suh in one of these leagues a couple years ago when he was a rookie?
It was in SOMSFA. I was picking third, and I expected Suh to go in the top 2 picks, but Bernie Overly was picking second, and he picked LeGarrette Blount.
That's right, the rookie card for LeGarrette Blount.
So I didn't have to trade up. Suh just fell to me. But yeah, that
I'm just going to speculate right now. Is he? I would assume he's not on your team anymore, only because you make so many trades. Is he on your team, or is he not on your team?
No, Suh's the cornerstone of my defense, of my SOMSFA Seahawks.
That's a good move.
Yeah, I trade a lot, but I
for the year. I think it's suspended for kicking someone in the head. But those nose tackle 6s with pass rush, those 4-3 tackle 6s with pass rush who become nose tackle 5s. Oh, those are awesome.
Yep. So he has that along with a great pass rush defensive end and an outside linebacker with a high pass rush. So, it's a dangerous defense.
Let's see who he's played so far, because let's look at the losses. He lost his bad loss. The Bears' only victory of the season so far, 34-21. Maybe the Bears are not really that bad a team. I remember we looked at them before the season. I have their first round pick next year. I know no one wants to hear that, and he's 1-7. But Teddy Bridgewater. But Derek Carr maybe. But he's 1-7. But his team is not that bad, and he's had a tough schedule. So I think the Bears will turn around. Losing to him is not really that much of an embarrassment. It's just you're surprised to see a good Texans team and a defending champion lose to a team that's currently 1-7. Now, defending champion doesn't always mean a lot, because guys sometimes go trade, especially in the spring. You trade a lot for the year and already knowing that the guys are going to stink the next year. And sometimes you can get guys more cheaply and compete for the year. But the Texans still have a good team this year. We like them to make the playoffs and have a chance to defend their title in the postseason to some extent. So it is a good team. You are surprised to lose to a 1-7, but Chicago's not that bad. He lost to Chicago 34-21. He lost to Washington, who I think is a pretty good team, 16-3, and he lost in overtime in the last play of overtime. We went to over. He scored like a touchdown on the last play of regulation to tie the game to send it to overtime. Okay, then he scored a field goal on the first possession of overtime. Then I went down to the 8-yard line, and I had to settle for a field goal to tie it with the new overtime rules, right? Right. And we played the rest, and we both had long drives. So all of a sudden, there was only 7 minutes left in the overtime. Maybe not even. And then nothing happened. And then I came down and I think I got a bullshit long pass or something or something. And kicked the game winning field goal in overtime. I think the play started with 8 seconds, but by the time we clicked it, it was 0 seconds on the clock. That's the game I did the write up on. That's the game where we had over 1,100 yards of combined offense between the two teams. And he ran over 90 plays from scrimmage. It was like 5 quarters of football. It was awesome. Yeah,
incredible. And you think that, maybe he deserved to win that one. No way. You had 13 penalties against you for 118 yards, and he only had 3 penalties against him for 24 yards.
Yeah, but I might have had some bullshit turnovers that went my way or something. The penalties were killing me and hurting me. I don't remember. I just remember in the second half feeling like I was probably going to lose.
You had no picks. He had 1 pick, and there was no fumbles. So it was a clean game. Besides that, just marching up and down the field. That's the game you finally started to use Marshawn Lynch a little more. 20 carries for 197 yards at 9.9 yards per carry average in that game. So, you were hitting some big numbers from him, including the 43-yarder off tackle.
I was he was hot that game. So every time I gave Lynch the ball, I got a short gain or a couple of really big runs. But why would I hand Lynch the ball? Look at Manning. Look what Manning's doing.
I know. I see what Manning's doing, but beast mode, baby. Come on.
He's leading. Hold on. Manning's leading the league in rating. He's leading the league. He's leading the league in touchdown passes. He's leading the league in passing yards, and Lynch is leading the league in rushing average. So what am I doing wrong? And I'm leading the league in points scored. What am I doing wrong?
I'm just about that action, boss.
I hear you. Well, I would like to see Lynch get to 2,000 yards. I've never had a 2,000-yard rusher because I tend to be a little more balanced. But
a little more balanced. If you were balanced, there'd be like a 50-50 ratio. You were a lot less balanced.
You're giving
that damn diva Peyton Manning the ball too much.
I follow the spreadsheets. I'm all about that action, boss, and I follow the spreadsheets. And when the spreadsheets tell me that the flat pass is king, with Peyton Manning, and I'm riddling you with flat passes, and now you can't double team your linebackers, and you can't bring them up to the hit to do the run after I throw 18 of 19 passes to start the game, and I'm moving the ball, and then I'm throwing bomb. You know my offense is flat passes or bombs, and some off tackles with Lynch. The defense does not move the linebackers anywhere. I hit some bombs with Manning, and Lynch gets some big runs, and away we go. And if I ever suspect that they're gonna like that they've found out what I'm doing, I just start throwing a lot of short passes because you got 22 units, 22 units of completing short pass right, and usually I'm not getting. I can be sacked though. The flat pass sack gets me. But anyway, here I am talking with my team, and guys like Tom. Enough with your
did we mention
mother-loving team.
Did we mention that you're leading the league in points scored?
Yes. We did not mention that. I led the league in points scored last year, and then I got waxed in the playoffs by John Madden. Tennessee Titans. I guarantee that's not going to happen this year. You know why?
John is no longer in the league.
Exactly. John left the league. So I can't lose to John this year, but I think that's Kansas City. So hopefully I don't face Kansas City. Maybe the team's got an influence. I didn't coach a good game that game. John's an excellent coach, and the game was close, and I was frustrated. I started bombing away, threw a bunch of picks. It didn't help that C.J. Spiller fumbled on end run wrong twice in the fourth quarter, with like a 6.1 fumble number, but I didn't coach well. So when you don't coach well, you deserve to lose. So I deserved to lose that game, but it was a nice regular season. But it was just like real life. Manning had a great regular season. He sucked in the playoffs. They had 5 interceptions. So that'll probably happen again this year. The funny thing is, I really didn't think of this team as really going for it this year, but and that's why I've got 2 number ones and 2 number 2s next year. Anyway. Well, we'll see what happens. If this team doesn't make the Super Bowl, nobody cares. It's all going to be like, yeah, nice regular season stats, but you suck. Anyway, so with Houston Texans, we didn't finish with them because of some of that game. That was an epic game. Then his victories over Baltimore, 45-24. That's a nice one. Over Cleveland, it was 5-3, 22-19. A close game, but a nice win. Took it to Jay, 37-3. That had to be one of those games where you got all the roles. Jay's a good team and a good coach. But beat Nathan 48-42. Talk about high scoring. And they beat Miami 27-6. So you look at this team. This team has already played the Jets 6-2, Jacksonville 6-2, Cleveland 5-3, Nathan 5-3, and probably better than that. Baltimore 5-3, Washington 4-4, probably better than that. So he's had a tough schedule so far, and he's 5-3. He's scoring a lot of points, and he's a defending champ. And then third quarter, he's got to play Kansas City's good. San Diego's okay, but 12's an excellent coach. Denver and Buffalo, not that good. Those coaches might want to run for cover at the season that Brad's struggling, and he gets to play a team that's struggling. The team might really, what I'm saying?
Yep.
Open things up a little bit as the play calling gets easier. Fourth quarter, got to play Atlanta. That's Mick. They're 4-4. Colts are struggling 2-6. Cincinnati 7-1, and the Saints are 1-7. That's a scrappy team. They're only being outscored by 50, which is not bad for a 1-7 team. And they played a number of close games, so he's doing a nice job. He's got Andrew Luck, and he's rebuilding. And that's a team to watch out for. That team. The next year or two, that team is coming. They're coming on in a big way. So interesting. He's got a couple of tough games. I could see Houston going like 11-5 and being like a 5 or 6 seed, and then upsetting somebody in the first round of the playoffs, like winning a wild card game and then beating somebody, one of the top seeds in the playoffs, and being in the Final Four. Or something, I could see that happening to that team. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Let's put it this way. I would rather have Cincinnati or Kansas City on my schedule than I would the Houston Texans, because that team is just talented up and down the roster.
Yeah, well, the team is not nearly as good as last year. So we shouldn't overstate the team. Last year, the team was much better. but it's still a good, tough team. And I just think that, that if I was that Butch and Dan, they might want to, have an internet link to those comments you just made. So if the playoffs come around, okay, you wanted to play us, huh?
No, they don't want.
You know who I want to play in the playoffs?
Seattle. That's who you want to
play. Buffalo. I'll play the Bills. You guys can play the good teams. I'll take Buffalo. They're 1-7. Stan's learning the game. I'll play that team. I'm okay with that.
Just a factual correction. Then, you mentioned that New Orleans has Andrew Luck. They actually have Ryan Tannehill, who was involved in that Russell Wilson trade.
Oh, yeah, the great trade that he made with you.
Andrew Luck is on the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah.
So maybe they're both doing a great job. I don't remember.
Very
we did the show a little impromptu, not as much research as sometimes we do. And usually we do very little research, but we're going to get another show out. But for the off-season stuff, I think we do a little more research. But still, this is going fine. Moving on down to, we already did the Raiders. We're not going to do him again. The St. Louis Rams, one of the more interesting teams. My God, we talk about the how many points teams are scoring, how many points allowed. This guy, he's second in the league in points scored with 246, and he is second worst in the league in points allowed, 242. I mean, every game, first one to 50 wins. I mean, every game is high scoring. And first one to 50 might not win. He might lose 54 to 51 or something. I don't know. But he told me after the game I played him, which was 44 to 28, he told me that he desperately needs pass rush. Now, Nathan loves to blitz his 12 linebackers, and he only has got one guy.
Yeah, so John Abraham. He made some trades to go for this year, picking, using his first-round pick on Josh McCown, trading, I think, a second or third for a third-round pick for John Abraham, which is, definitely well worth it. But he's trying to make moves to put a run on, and he gave up a second, I think, for Fred Jackson. So he's got the pieces. I'm surprised that he's giving up that many yards, even without a pass rush, because he has more 5s than 4s on defense. He's got 2 5s on the line, a 5 and a 6. I mean, a 6 and 2 5s at linebacker, and then 2 5s in the back. So it's not a bad defensive team. I'm surprised that he's struggling so bad.
Well, yeah. Well, we talk about teams you don't want to play in the playoffs. This is a team I would not want to play in the playoffs because, number one, we already know Josh McCown has been owning the 2013 Stratomatic card set. He's had success in many, many leagues.
Yep.
He's winning championships, playing for the championship. Whatever.
Yep.
Yep. This defense 5-5-4-4 on the line with no pass rush on the line, 6-5-5 linebacker 5. Yeah. It's not an awful looking group. So that tells me I got a guy that I know is a real good coach. Came within a Joe Flacco injury of winning the Super Bowl against me a couple years ago. The offense is putting up over 30 points a game. We see the pass blocking. You see McCown. You see Fred Jackson. He always has ridiculous receivers. Deshaun Jackson, Jordy Nelson, and Vernon Davis. Hello. Then he can throw to Jordan Cameron as the second tight end or Fred Jackson out of the backfield. So I mean, talk about choose your poison. The defense is it a real good defense? No, but it's not a real bad defense. It's sort of a mid-level type of defense, and it should not be second worst in the league in points scored. So, I mean, I think that'll probably straighten itself out more in the second half. And you'll see, and I think his schedule, I looked at this team, I think his schedule gets a lot easier. I could be wrong about that. Let's see who he's played so far. Now, he's lost to Kansas City, 6-2. He's lost to Houston, 5-3. He's lost to me, 6-2. So there's 3 losses. One team 5-3, 2 teams 6-2. None of those games were real blowouts. Yep. I maybe things got a little bit out of hand with me against him, and he scored a late touchdown. But then he beat Buffalo. I feel bad. I keep mentioning Buffalo.
He's a new guy.
Sorry, Stan.
Stan.
I'm just reading the schedule. It says you lost 30-12. I'm sorry. What do you want to do? But you beat Buffalo. You beat Baltimore in a close one, 2015. And Baltimore's pretty good. Beat Washington in a nail biter, 38-37. That must have been a hell of a game. Beat Miami, who's not that great, 29-24. And Chicago is struggling. He beat them 38-30. So outside, I just apologized. Outside of the Buffalo game, he's kind of had a tough time. With all
the Chicago game, he did not have a tough time. It was 38-23 when Lawrence hit an 80-yard pass from Stafford to Jimmy Graham with a minute left to make it look closer. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he on the other ones, he's given up points. Like you said, it's a track meet. Whoever gets to 50 first is the winner.
Now now second half, third quarter, he plays which would be a real tough game. Maybe I should call that game.
Yeah,
Game
we'll
of the
probably play.
block.
We play. Me and Nathan always play early in the whenever we have a game against each other, like the
Okay.
first or second night that the files are released.
That's good. That's because he's up real late at night and you're on the West
Right,
Coast. So,
right. So we hook up and yeah. So we'll look for you if you're. I'll send you an email when we.
well,
When we play.
I usually go to sleep a little earlier nowadays, so you might not find me at 1:30 a.m. to do a show like we were doing a few months ago. But I'm doing it tonight, so every now and then. Let's see. So he plays you. He plays Atlanta 4-4. Who's doing okay? I think you'd like that team to possibly make the playoffs for the season. Plays Arizona 3-5. Plays Denver struggling. What's Denver's record? Denver's 3-5. I keep thinking Denver's doing worse than that. You know what? The Denver team is awful. That defense on the defensive ratings in Denver are just ludicrously bad, and it's only through the wizardry of Renee's coaching that the team is 3-5.
Yeah,
the defense on that team is really bad. Renee's a very good coach. Don't fall asleep on Renee if you get him in the schedule.
Agreed.
Yeah, his personnel is just taking a hit in both leagues.
Yep.
Because I think he does have DeMarco Murray on this team and Tony Romo, so they can be tough on offense. And he's coaching the hell out of the defense. You got all 4s and 0s running around. When do we get to Denver seconds?
I know. Amazing.
St. Louis. All right, so we get up in Denver. He's got New Orleans, scrappy, Ryan Tannehill, Minnesota, San Francisco, and Jacksonville. So he's got Jacksonville and you in the second half, but otherwise he's got a lot of soft teams here. You got Arizona, Denver, Minnesota.
11-5. 11-5. Mark my words. At least 11-5.
Yeah, Nathan's not going to fall asleep on Ed. I don't think Nathan's going to. I think some people get intimidated playing Ed because he's always done so well in the past and he knows the game so well. You got you got to treat Ed like any other coach, and you got to get after him. You got to be aggressive. Strat football. This rule set, and the dump off rule set, the dump off 6 white die rule set. You stand around in defense, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. I don't care how good you guys are. You can have a 6 at almost every position. You still might lose. Yep.
And as Ed doesn't make mistakes as many of us will do from time to time, he's pretty bulletproof on making sure that he's not vulnerable in certain situations. So that's why he continues to do so well. But you're right. You look at the way he calls a game. He doesn't just sit there and flat pass and run all day. He'll open it up. I don't care who his quarterback is. He'll throw a handful of bombs each game. And if you're not doing the same, you're missing opportunities.
Yeah, a few years ago, when I was still struggling mightily in SOMSFA, about maybe more than a few years ago, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I'd been playing strat for a long time. I consider myself a good strat football coach. I had a lot of success in the online community in my first few years playing, but I was getting hammered in SOMSFA all the time. And back then people didn't always play with the dump off and the white die 6. They played more the traditional, conservative. I'm going to get you mad. I won't say it. But they played more the traditional conservative 1980s style of strat football.
Okay.
Stand around nickel 3-3-5. Everybody did that for hundreds of games the first couple of years. Very, it really got old in a hurry. But that's what I'm doing now in a certain league. But but when they started the dump off and the 6 white die in the modern game and these flat passing quarterbacks, I was struggling. I was getting a lot of points. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing wrong. So I was doing the same thing I had done always, And I started paying attention to what Ed was doing when I play him. I said, this guy beats me every game. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He gives up great defensive stats. And Ed is very aggressive on defense. Like you said, Ed will every now and then he'll blitz everybody and maybe key a guy, or he'll blitz everybody and gets past, or he'll blitz everybody on the team. Now he won't do it every play. He'll stand around sometimes, absolutely. But you have to aggressively try to stop some plays, pretty regularly. Certainly at least like once every 6 or 7 plays. Because if you stand around and let your linebackers disappear on the white die 6, and don't plug these run holes and get 8 for 10 yards or 12 yards, and get dump offs out the wazoo because you're not double teaming or you're not blitzing enough, you're going to give up yards, you're going to give up first downs, you're going to give up points, and you're going to lose. And on offense, Ed runs the ball a ton. I hate saying this because I feel like I'm giving away his trade secret here, but if you look at his SOMSFA teams, he's running the ball like 40, 45, sometimes 50 times a game. Yep. And I realized when you play his teams and they don't have a good quarterback, you guys run a lot, that's half the battle. I mean, we haven't gotten to his team yet, and he hasn't scored a lot of points, and his team is awful this year, but I bet he runs the ball a lot. But he also can afford, I think, to be a little more patient on offense because he's so good a defensive coach.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, you got to make calls with a purpose. I mean, what are you trying? Each time you make a call on defense, what are you trying to do? What place are you trying to stop? If you make calls with a purpose, it'll help out. It looks like Tom dropped off, so let me re-invite him just in case, and we'll continue on here. So where do we leave off? Okay, so we were talking. Let me share my screen here for you guys. All right, so we started talking about San Francisco a little bit, but let's finish up. We finish up with St. Louis. I guess we can continue with San Francisco while Tom's gone, and you know, he's struggling a little bit on offense. You see, he has Colin Kaepernick as his quarterback. Colin Kaepernick has just a rough card. His flat pass card is one of the worst in the set. Let's see if what Tom says holds true. Ed is running the ball.
Hey, Dennis, I'm back. I got disconnected for a minute.
No problem. Welcome back. Or we're just going to finish up on San Francisco and then move on to another team. But I'm showing.
We technically weren't even doing them yet.
I know but since we started talking about him, we might as well knock him off and go on to another team. So
that's what you call a good executive decision right there.
We're past 10 o'clock. So anyway, Kaepernick has thrown the ball 171 times. Jason Campbell's thrown the ball 70 times. So he must have lost Kaepernick to injury, or maybe he's trying something different. But if you add that up, that's 241 passing attempts, and his rushing attempts. If you look at the number of rushes, you know, he's running the ball 235 times, so almost a 50-50 split.
Yeah, well, Campbell, I think he has rated much more highly on his quarterback ratings than Colin, but it looks like Campbell's performance wasn't exactly Ed's cup of tea. I see a 45.7 completion percentage with no touchdowns and no interceptions in 70 attempts. That's not very exciting. Now, Cat doesn't have that great a card either, but like I said before, when we're looking at Battle Royale, we're looking at quarterbacks for the draft, and I think we were doing the preseason show. I mean, Campbell, yeah, he's low turnover, but he's also very low completion. But I mean, at least Colin, you know, gets some must runs to do something. Sometimes you have to live with the greater turnovers to move the ball because the guy is low turnover, but he's really dreadful with completions. I'm not sure how much help you're getting out of that card. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and let's look back. He went 2-2 in the first quarter. He started Campbell one game, Kaepernick another. Let's see what he has. Kaepernick. It looks, yeah, maybe it depends on the opponent, or maybe the Campbell's only played when Kaepernick's been injured. It looks like Campbell was
2 games.
It looks possible. He missed one game, or at least he was subbed out. And then this one, it was like a 50-50 split. So who knows? Who knows what Ed's thinking? He's trying to generate some offense. And if Kaepernick's not doing it, maybe he goes and pulls the plug and brings in Campbell.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, and despite everything I said, I mean, I'm still glad I don't have to play the team because that is such a good coach. But so, now, looking down the schedule, what has he done so far? Lost by 1 to Cincinnati. Lost badly. Well, lost 24-10 to Detroit. I know I'm just looking at the scores and not at the results. So I know you said some of these games are not as close as they might look. Lost badly to Jacksonville. Lost to Oakland. Lost to Cleveland 16-13. Then his wins: beat Minnesota by 6. Beat Randy 28-14. Beat up on Atlanta 37-7. And Dan couldn't have been happy with this. Beat Kansas City 28-21. So some decent teams in there. Kansas City the only. No, he also played Jacksonville. So some pretty decent teams there. The rest of the way, you got the Saints, the Colts this quarter. You got the Chargers with Paul 4-4. You got Baltimore 5-3. Then the last block, you got Arizona, Buffalo. Got Seattle. He plays you, and then he plays Nathan, St. Louis. And Stan's going to get there. And Stan's a great guy and very enthusiastic. You know, and if you knew online, usually it takes a while, maybe a year, maybe 18 months, and then you figure it out, and then you start stomping on some people. So Stan will be fine, I think, eventually. All
right, so we did say
kind of a tough fourth quarter. What do you think? What do you think, San Fran? I picked them for 6-10 early in the preseason, and obviously you picked them, I think, for 9-7 and make the playoffs. Maybe you went 8-8. I think with 9-7. Yeah, no,
I did 9-7. Yep, 9-7 out of his coaching ability alone. I see.
I need Jeff. I need Jeff, and I need Jeff and Paul to come to the fore and to beat Ed and end his quest to make the postseason with this team. Look, guys, this team is not a playoff team. This team is awful. I said it in the preview. This is a very bad strat. This team should go about 3-13, 4-12 at best. And shame on you if you let this team make the playoffs.
He's going to win He's going to win 3 or 4 games next quarter. Mark my words. And then he'll go 50-50 in the last quarter.
I am calling. I want to see the Saints. They've been playing tough. 1-7. They were outscored by 50. That's a tall order. I want to see the Saints this quarter.
Not going to happen, Captain.
Yeah, win number 2.
Not going to happen, Captain.
That guy, isn't that guy's name Scott? Is it that guy?
Yes. Yep, sure is Scott Mueller.
Yeah. Mueller? Anyone?
Mueller? Mueller? Maybe.
I want to see the Saints step up and get win number 2. Don't worry, Scott. You can lose the rest of the games. You'll still be in the mix. You already got a young quarterback. You don't need the first pick. You can get Larry Donald or whomever after that. And Chicago's going to win some games anyway. Buffalo could probably win another game. It's hard to go 1-15, so, no matter how much you try. So,
yep, not going to happen.
I had some bad teams. It was hard to, but you think he's going to win at least 3 this quarter, huh?
Yeah, I think that Paul or
oh boy, you get Indianapolis, New Orleans.
Yeah, Paul or Jeff will beat him, but the other 2 are going down.
I need Paul and Jeff. I need Paul and Jeff to beat him. I want to see the Saints for glory. I'm going to defeat I'm going to defeat the commissioner, defeat a multiple champion. Feel good about the year, even though the team's not that good. He's rebuilding.
Let's have full transparency. You just want Chicago to have the undisputed number 1 pick, so you don't care who New Orleans beats. You just want them to win, beat somebody. Buffalo and New Orleans. You should be building Stanley up. You should be giving him private coaching lessons to make sure that he wins another game, so that Chicago is the only team with 1 win. That's
Stanley.
The plan.
Stanley, I have these spreadsheets that I use. I got to punch in those Buffalo numbers. You'll be expecting an email in the morning.
There you go.
Coach him up. Tips.
Coach him up.
And where we go? No. To be honest, I don't really root for anybody to lose. I think Chicago will win at least 5 or 6 games. I don't think that's going to be the number 1 pick. I don't need it to be the number 1 pick. I'm going to win anyway. Oh, damn.
Boom.
Yeah, I'm going to win games anyway. You guys don't want to make it too easy on me. You don't want to see me. Well, I don't think there's a franchise quarterback at the next draft. I think Bridgewater and Carr, pretty good looking right now. Probably pretty good strat quarterbacks. I don't think they're going to be that Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck type of guy. They're maybe a little more Joe Flacco-esque. Hopefully, a little better than that. Maybe if you're lucky, one of them is Matt Ryan, who's really good in strat. So that would be a good pickup. Anyway, so moving on to Atlanta, right?
Yes, okay. Atlanta's the next team.
Mick, I kept calling him Maxie Bourne in the pre-season preview, and you corrected me. This team is 4-4, new coach. I played with him in Autumn Wind. He was in the expansion draft together with me. 4-4, so he can't be doing too bad. I think you liked this team for the playoffs. I kind of liked the team. I think he coached pretty decently in Autumn Wind. You got Drew Brees and Matt Forte. That's a nice way to start out your team. Calvin Johnson is also nice.
Did you play him this year? No, you haven't played him this year. Neither have I. No. Am I remembering it right that does he like to run that 3 wide or 4 wide offense almost exclusively? Where he's spreading guys out?
I know Dale is the king of the 4 wide in SOMSFA, the Minnesota Vikings guy in SOMSFA.
Oh, okay, that's who I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, is he in there? Is he in SSFA?
I don't think so. Dale Ripley? No, I don't believe so.
Believe it or not. I think he's in. I think he might be in SOMSFA though. He's in one of the other leagues, I think.
Yes, he is. He's not in SSFA. I just double checked.
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. To me, I like the 4 wide every now and then. I like it against certain teams, but I don't know. Peyton Manning threw like 580 passes with like 13 touchdowns last year in some for him. But he had some effectiveness with it, so I can't question too much. But interesting idea on his part. Defense on Atlanta 5.564 0.65. They got some decent personnel there. I don't like that left linebacker 0. No one would. Yeah, get decent defensive personnel. Drew Brees, Matt Forte, Calvin Johnson. Nice pass blocking. That team looks like it should be a playoff team. First go around in the league. What's happened? Lost a close one to Jay, but 34-31. I'm going to assume it's a close one. Lost to the Colts. That hurts. 17-10. The Colts are 2-6, and they don't even have 150 points scored yet, which is not good. Just scoring at home. Got blown up by Ed, 37-7. Lost to Denver. Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
I mean, Renee, I love you, Renee. Renee is an excellent coach. I got to bring a Denver on the screen real quick. I mean, look at this. Because this is the second time we've seen them win a game and talked about this team. I mean, he's got Romo. He's got a real solid card. DeMarco Murray doesn't have a great card, but a decent card. Has very little else going on in the offense. Charles Clay, the most exciting guy after that. You're not really. Charles Clay's good at what he does, but he's not explosive. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
Look at his defense. 4-4-5-4 on the line of scrimmage. Yes, he has 112. 4-4-5-4 on the line of scrimmage. 4-5-5 at linebacker. It's even a 4-3. Okay, so you don't even have the cheap, benefit of the 3-4 playing games, flooding zones. 4-4-5-4 line, 4-5-5 linebackers, 4-0-4-4 secondary. What are you guys losing to? And he's probably going to beat me in the end of the season, but I mean, this team shouldn't be able to stop. I don't know, something that's easy to stop. Well, I don't know. This team shouldn't be able to stop anybody. I mean, you can flat pass this team. You can run against this team. Guys probably get too greedy throwing downfield. You can't get too greedy throwing downfield against this team. You got to start West Coasting him, hitting the flats. So he's got to keep those linebackers home. So he's limited to free safety double teaming. Then he can mix in your runs against the fours. And then, after he's got to worry about that stuff, then he can throw downfield a little more aggressively, But I mean, this defense is awful. He's got three guys that are 5. And they're only 5s. He's got no 6s. He's got 3 guys that are 5, and one of them is a defensive tackle. And he plays the 4-3. And he's got his 0-4-4 in the secondary. I mean,
well, he went 0-4 in the first set, and it looked like, yep, that's what he's going to have to deal with. But then he put together a 3-1 second quarter that
one slight blemish.
Yeah.
One slight blemish, the 56-point outburst by the Packers. Randy, by the way, it's called running up the score. You might want to look into it.
Payback.
I don't know what happened there. Randy was probably frustrated. Like, you know what? I'm finally doing something. We're going with it. That's that's all right. I wouldn't want to. I put a 55 on Renee last year, but he kept scoring. It was like I was up. Like, I looked at the game recently because I was thinking about that. I was up like 38-10. And the next thing you know, it's like 38-24. I had to keep scoring. Then it's 45-24. Then it's 45-31. So he kept scoring. So I had to keep trying to score.
Yep.
But I don't know. Maybe this game was closer. You got to play pick 6 or something. But outside of the 56-21 game, wow. Just look at this team. He gave up 56 points to Randy. He's only given up 209 points the whole season. So with that defense, outside of the horrible game against Randy, he's getting up 154 points in 7 games.
Amazing.
And I know Renee is very comfortable going West Coast and running the ball in the old Chad Pennington, Tiki Barber, Somifa days. So he's very good at like that traditional approach and ball control and clock management. So you're not going to be able to give them any points, nor score as many points. But I mean, come on, that defense that's awful.
Yep.
What is Don doing? Don, how do you give 45 points to this team? Well, on offense, he can do some things, actually. I mean, Romo and Murray, so
yeah,
and Charles Clay. So he went 3-1, and he beat Detroit, Atlanta, and Minnesota. So he beat 2 500 teams. That's not bad.
Yep.
He played a close game against Kansas City, 23-19. He lost to Cincinnati by 2, 24-21. He also lost to the Colts. So I don't know what to do with this team. This team's 3-5. In the second half, they play Houston, the Texans. That's going to be tough. Plays Paul. He's got a good coach. Plays you. That's going to be tough. Oh, boy, that third quarter is brutal.
Yeah, so he could go from 1 to 1-3 or 0-4 in this quarter.
Yeah, and he's going from 3-5, overachieving with his defense. Now he's got to play Seattle 6-2, Nathan 5-3 and in a bad mood, Houston 5-3 and had a crazy season so far, and San Diego 4-4. Paul, a good coach. But Renee knows he's not going for the year. He's just happy to be winning. Renee's a gamer. He's not one of those guys. I got a bad team, but I'm going to play to win. Screw that. And I go that way too. It feels good when you upset a team. When you have a lousy team and you coach well with them and beat a good team, it feels good. Yeah, exactly. And then the fourth quarter, he's got to play. I can't believe looking at the Broncos fourth quarter after the third quarter, but fourth quarter, he's got to play the Bears 1-7. Renee, you really got to try hard that game. You got me now. Thinking about the pick. He's gonna throw that game just to mess with my chances here.
Look, we know.
I do play Renee. I play Renee the last game of the season. After all those comments, Renee's gonna come gunning for me that game.
Yep.
You know, but I've had a lot of. I've been lucky against him the last few years. We played in the playoffs, and he had Romo. This league, Romo got hurt in like the early second quarter, and that was it. He just didn't, you know. I mean, his team. He had a decent team with Romo, but without Romo, it's like he didn't have any team at all. It was really unfair, you know. But yeah, hey, injuries are a part of football. People like that, don't they?
For sure.
Someone should write a thread about that.
Yeah, somebody should start that and change their mind twice in the same thread.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Well, you know, Ed makes the point. He's got a very compelling point. You know, his cup of tea can be very convincing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Renee, he even had to use Geno Smith. I guess Romo got hurt. My condolences on that. You haven't used Geno Smith. There's Romo. Not a lot to. This is the only the bad teams. Like you look at the stats, like there's really nothing to look at. What am I looking at here? 76 rating. Well, there's nothing to look at. Anyway, that's enough of Denver. Renee doesn't win a game the rest of the year. He's done a fine job. But, you know, he does have the Chicago game looming, so you've got to win at least one more. But Renee's doing a good job. Atlanta, we left off with Atlanta. We switched from Atlanta to Detroit.
Here, let me try something here. My technical values here. Is
it the button where you mute me so that I stop going on and you can finally go to sleep?
No, I just want to try this YouTube app, because this reminds me of so click on add videos to the playlist. Okay, so
do me a favor.
Okay,
and don't destroy our broadcast like you did that time with the Derby guy. We are live, right? Is the live button on?
And that's you in the penalties and injuries thread. I've changed my mind. Again.
You know, I think yeah, I don't think it's working. I don't see it, but I think you have to do the you got to lock the thing in for you to do that.
Did I have
Well, I got disconnected and I reconnected. Remember that?
No, I think I still had you. You didn't see it? You didn't see the video?
No. Try again.
Okay, here we go. Let me put on my present it to everyone. No, I think it's right. I think it's showing up. You'll see it when you watch the video. I promise.
Okay. All right. I see the bags under your eyes. I guess I better hurry. I guess we better go faster, huh? Or is it just age? I'm the same way now. So, Atlanta, we said 4-4. I don't know what the hell we said within the second half. St. Louis is good. Saints, feisty, but undermanned. Washington's going to be interesting to talk. We'll look forward to them in a minute. Got to play me. Atlanta's got a pretty tough third quarter. Although they got Houston, Baltimore, Cincinnati. Atlanta's got a tough second half. Atlanta's 4-4. And he's got to play Cincinnati 7-1, Jets 6-2, Kansas City. No, he's got to play Cincinnati, the Jets, St. Louis, Baltimore, Washington, and Houston. Mick, you're not making the playoffs. I hate to break it to you. If you make the playoffs, God bless you. But I know you got Breeze and Forte and pretty good defense. But you're 4-4, and that's a tough road.
But you win a couple of those, and you start getting a little more confident. You're feeling better. I think he can still do it. I'm rooting for you, Mick. You can do it.
I didn't say I wasn't rooting for the guy. I'm just, yeah. What the hell? I'm rooting for you too. Good luck. Dennis Crowley, good cop. All right, let's go to Mr. Orange Fingers himself, Don Morton, formerly M on the forum.
They still M on the forum.
Yeah, he doesn't post that much anymore. I think I think he was fond of posting the bikini pictures, and Dan said no more of that. And Don said, what am I doing here then? So he's probably looking at bikini pictures elsewhere or whatever he's doing. This team is 4-4. Talk about a 500 team. Scoring differential of +4. So that, it's a nice job.
But he went from a 3-1 first quarter to a 1-3 second quarter. Yes. So what do we make of that?
Well, I got to look and see who he played. He was 3-1. He lost handily to Washington. He beat Chicago. I'm just glad the Buffalo's not on the schedule. I have to mention him beating Buffalo. They're on the schedule. I beat them. So, but he lost to. I keep mentioning Buffalo, so he beat them. But he lost to Washington handily. Beat Chicago. Beat Ed. That's a good win, even though the team's not good. Beat Miami, was not a good team. So, not really the greatest
impressed with that, yeah.
victories in the world. Then he beat Oakland, though, in the second quarter, second block, 20-13.
Yeah.
We said Oakland's played well. Lost a close one to Baltimore. Was playing pretty well. Lost to Detroit, give it 45 points. I hope that was a bad luck game. I don't know what else.
It happens.
And then lost to Kansas City, who's good. Yeah. Everyone has like a couple, one at least one game in the schedule where it's like there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, he lost to Denver, not Detroit.
Yeah, he is Detroit and lost to Denver. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I meant to say 4-4. Hasn't really beaten anybody that good. Plays Cincinnati this block. Plays Cincinnati, Jacksonville, and Seattle this block.
That's going to be tough.
And then the fourth quarter, he plays the Jets,
Chargers,
and Cleveland and Chargers. Don, good luck. You could join Max. You guys can commiserate after the season. But I think Don's got a better chance. I think his team might be a little better. He's been in the league a little longer. I think sometimes it takes.
You called him Max again. You called Mick Max again.
No. Mick. Yeah, that's right. Max Bourne was a linebacker in the.
I know.
It's played in the IFL. Well, you did play. Have a cup of coffee in the IFL, but more IFL would have taught you that. If you probably knew it anyway. But anyway, Mick. I'm gonna keep calling Mick from now on, just to make it easier. Just change your name to Max in this league.
Yes,
and put it on. We'll send out an email.
For purposes of the podcast, you're new
coach.
Max.
His name is Max. He's gonna take over.
Yes.
Mick. So Mick. I'll think of Mick Taylor, Mick Jagger. I think Dom's team might be a little better. Dom's been in the league before. I think sometimes it takes a go around to kind of figure things out. I think Mick is a decent coach. I have more confidence in Don. He's a little more success in the league. This is the Andy Dalton team. We had a lot of controversy about this team in the previews. You didn't like Andy Dalton. I don't like Andy Dalton. 4-4-4 front. No, he must be a 4-3 team, I hope.
Yep.
No, it's
3-4. What?
So it's a 4-4-4 front. And, well, otherwise it would have been a 4-5-0-4. So 4-4-4 front, 5-0-4, 5-5-4, 6-5. With that schedule, I'm thinking Don's making the playoffs. But they got the far. I don't. Yeah, we probably neither of us picked him for the playoffs. Here comes the team. Here comes the guy. Very enthusiastic.
Randy, another guy who does write-ups. Hey, Randy, keep doing the write-ups.
Very enthusiastic. Randy's a great member of the league. He's a very good general manager. This team was. He's done a good job. Both of his teams. That they were not good rosters when he got there. He's been slow and steady and patient, and they're getting there now. I mean, Jesus, this team's got LaShawn McCoy this year. Next year, maybe his card won't be that great. Maybe a bit of a down year.
But Le'Veon Bell.
That's okay. He drafted Le'Veon Bell, so he'll be fine. Now, Randy was someone, and he listens to the show and he likes to make comments, which is good. A lot of people listen to the show. I like that. You see, remember I was telling you one of the broadcastings of the games that we didn't get a lot of hits on YouTube. I'm not looking for 3,000 hits, but when we do these type of shows in the SOMSFA and the SSFA, we get like 50 views. Guys watch them over, blah 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 blah. Guys comment on them. When we do like the order win playoff game, it's like 13 views maybe. I don't know, maybe whatever. The number was a lot lower for some of those games. So if I know guys listening, then I like doing the shows. But if I'm doing it for like 3 guys, and one of them is Dave Saminsky. I want some Golden Tate stats. Is all I know. I got to play. He's probably going to beat me this year in Battle Royale, but. And I'm getting off topic as I always do, but Green Bay, a team that we disagreed on, a controversial approach to the team in the SSFA preview show. You liked Randy to make the playoffs, go 10-6. I think I had Randy at 8-8. I said no suit for you, and Randy and I have talked about this. He's no animosity, just talking. I think he thanked you in the forum. He said thanks, Dennis, for believing in me. Which is a subtle way of saying screw you, Tom, for not believing in me.
Yep.
He played pretty well against me, but my team pulled away in the second half. I was glad I won that game.
That was a bulletin board game. I'm sure he had your name on the bulletin board for that game.
I mean, yeah, I have to back it up because I pretty much shred about 2/3 of the teams in the league every time we do one of these shows. And even if the guy then has a good team the next year, they still remember. It's a long memory, so I gotta bring my A game. That's why I had to drop SOMSFA. I gotta make sure I'm I gotta get the spreadsheets up to par. I gotta make sure I'm doing my review and my prep before the game, so I can go out there and have a chance to win. I don't go out there and and lose. All I know is they're all waiting for Peyton Manning's arm to fall off because it's going to be open season on the Jets when that happens. I got the future equivalent of Jake Locker back there, or whatever. So anyway, you can still hear me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right, every now and then there was a cutoff noise. So Randy 4-4. He scored a lot of points. 226 points is good. 184 points allowed. I know this team pretty well. It's got Nick Foles. It's got LaShawn McCoy, who's great.
Right.
So with those two, you're in good shape. He's got reasonable pass blocking. His receiving targets are not that good. Michael Crabtree, James Garrett Graham. That's a weakness of the team.
Yep, that's what I was just going to say. That's what's holding them back right now. You can't have Nick Foles without good receivers to help bail him out when you get all those receiver readings.
Yeah, and my spreadsheet work over the last couple of years, which is not perfect and not complete and not where I want it to be, but it's still helpful at showing that receivers are actually a lot more important than I ever would have thought before. In these with these draft league defenses, I think when the draft league defense came out, we all said, "Oh, good, receivers are more important than they used to be." But we all probably felt like, okay, but they used to be almost not important at all. Now they're a little more important, but they're still not that important. I think they're very important. My numbers show they're very important. That if you have a max receiver against a 5, a short pass right to him is still a good play. A flat pass to him is still a good play, even against a 5 linebacker. Which means you can throw to that guy a lot more, which means he's going to get double teamed a lot more. But if the more double teams you force him, the more you do the rest of your stuff. You know what I'm saying? And somebody out there in these leagues is being covered by a 4, so you make it harder in the defense. So I think they are important.
Yeah.
And look, he's done a good job drafting, so they'll come along.
Yeah.
But it has hurt his team this year. Defense 4-5-4-4 on the line. That's got to hurt. 3-4 to the run blocking, and you're playing a 4-3. He plays a 4-3, I assume.
Yeah, but a fantastic secondary. I think that's his strength.
5-4-6, fantastic secondary, but unfortunately the corners are only 5s. Like I just said, max receivers against the 5 is actually a good play for the offense in the short pass. So 5s are nice, but 5s are not shutdown guys. You really want it's amazing to me mathematically the difference between a corner 5 and a corner 6, which is why you see me go crazy for those corner 6s all the time. But
yeah, because it's not just one reading on the D cards that has the defender X. It's 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, you've got at least 8 or 9 units of defender reading on short pass, which is where all your third down conversions are coming from. Short pass 3 men. So you got 10 defender X readings on short pass right. Okay.
Yep.
So for a 6, you're getting 0 completions there. For a 5, you're getting 3.3 completions in the defense. You're getting 9.9 completions out of 72.
Yep.
You're talking about a difference of over 12% in your completion percentage throwing at a 5 versus a 6.
And one of those is like that long gain.
One of them is a long gain on 2. You already have a long gain on 12, and that's with 3 men. So you want to say, well, that's no problem. I'm going to put 4 men in there. Well, but even flat passing, max receivers help. Even flat passing, you'd be surprised. It's only defender X +2 or +5, -2 or +4, -1 or +4. But those mathematically help. And believe it or not, a flat pass against a guy covered by a 6 is actually mathematically a lot worse than, well, it's noticeably worse than it is against a 5. It's not like a short pass, but it does make more of an impact than you would think. And I'll tell you, linebacker 6s, the corner 6 is where it's at mathematically, and linebacker 6s, especially with the white die rule, a lot against a linebacker 6 with a pretty decent quarterback, pretty decent receiver covered by a 5, you're averaging like 3.3 yards an attempt throwing out a linebacker 6. You're averaging like 5 yards an attempt throwing out a linebacker 5. And you can throw out a linebacker 5 almost all day if you have a decent quarterback or receiver. But you throw it a 6, you mathematically your drive should end.
Yep, and I think that's a good point. The linebacker 6 is the most overpowered position in strap football right now, aside from quarterback and halfback.
But I'll still take a corner 6 over the linebacker 6, even though you can double team. I know that, but look, you see the way I coach now. I take my free safety and do whatever I want with him, and you guys can throw my corner 6s all day long. I don't care. I won't always give you long pass no man anymore, because they burned away a couple of times. But it's like I feel like I'm playing with 12 guys on defense sometimes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, I'll still take the corner 6s also because those are big play yards down the field. And also, you know that when you have a corner who's not a 6, they're going to throw some bombs at him. Sometimes guys, they'll still throw at the corner 6. Sometimes guys won't. But you know, when I've coached with it, it makes your life a lot easier. You know, I mean, God forbid you have a corner 4. The numbers against a corner 4 are just awful. And that guy gets doubled a lot to see, I'm going to double. It's not a problem, blah, 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 blah. But it opens up so much other stuff for the offense. But that's enough of my coaching seminar, whatever. So now next year the corners will go higher, and I'll get something else that I like. So I already have good corners. That's a good see. So it's a good there. But anyway,
I think that's this might be the best part of the podcast. If people can last 3 hours into it to hear it, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
It's only now 39 minutes. Wrap it up because all right, we start the bottom feeders. But Green Bay, so this team's 4-4. The defense, the ratings aren't bad. Foles needs help with the receivers. You can do some things against that team running, which opens up the passes, you know. Let's look at the schedule the rest of the way. Let's see what they did so far. Lost to Jacksonville, which is a real good team. Lost to Ed, no shame in that. Lost to my team, who's 6-2. Lost to Baltimore, close game, which is a 5-3 team. Beat Kansas City by 1. That's a nice win in a close game. Had the 56-point outburst against Denver. Beat the Chargers in a close game, which is a good win for him, and took it to Arizona. So he's had good results. He's played some real good teams and lost to them, but not gotten really blown out. And then he's won some close games, including against a good team. So his schedule has been tough, I think. And moving forward, you got Seattle this quarter. You got Seattle, Cincinnati this quarter, and Washington is hardly a pushover. Then you got Chicago. Then you got Cleveland in the fourth quarter is 5-3. Then you got Miami, New Orleans, and Buffalo to end things out. So that's a brutal third quarter. I like the team. I also think I played Randy recently in this league, and I beat him 20-21. It was a good game. I think he coached very well. I think he's improved a lot as a coach. Yes. So anytime I see a guy start becoming a good coach, or I know he's already a good coach, like Dan and Butch, who are relatively new to the leagues, I say, well, that guy's always got a chance. So, but I don't know. Playoffs, so I could see him maybe getting to 9-7. After I played him, I told him, you know what, I think you're going to make the playoffs, you know, and then he went out and lost to Baltimore or something.
Yeah, I still look at that. He's going to go 3-1 or 4-0 in that fourth quarter. So he needs to go 2-2 or 3-1 in this quarter to have to lock up that playoff spot. I still think he can get to 10-6. It's just going to take a little bit more work. He needs to go 2-2 and then 4-0 or 3-1, 3-1. He can do it.
Well, yeah. Well, even 9-7 gets him in the playoffs. I think right now he would take 9-7. I think he's got to go 2-2 this quarter because it's hard to count on a 4-0 quarter. I mean, it's hard to beat anybody 4 straight times. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
What worries me is the Chicago game. Believe it or not, Chicago does not have a bad team. Personnel-wise, Lawrence is not that bad a coach. His team is struggling this year. I played him before, and he doesn't usually do awful. He's had some decent teams. A great team in the SSFA a couple years ago, made the semifinals. So that worried me because that's not really a gimme game. You see that as a 1-17. That's not a gimme game. And Washington 4-4. I mean, he's got to beat. He's got to go at least 2-2 this quarter, I think.
Yep.
And we'll see. And now Cleveland's 5-3, but they're not a great team. And they've had a soft schedule, so maybe he has a chance at that 4-0 quarter.
Miami, New Orleans, Buffalo. He's gonna sweep. He's gonna sweep those last 3 games.
He better. Otherwise, we're gonna send him an email.
Yep, a strongly worded letter. Exactly. Okay, next team.
Okay, now Dennis is fading off.
Yes.
Okay. What time do you wake up for work in the morning?
6:30.
Oh, geez, no wonder. Okay, it's almost 11 p.m. your time. Okay, San Diego Superchargers. Coached by half-man, half-Mankiewicz, who's 4-4. This was a team that I did not like to start the season. I may have even given them like a 7-9 type of deal.
Yep.
Out of respect to Paul, because he's such an excellent coach and championship pedigree. Jake Locker, Alfred Morris, some zeros run blocking, not bad pass blocking. Good receivers because it's Paul's team. Not allowed to have a team. Paul can't have a team without good receivers. 5-5-4-6 defense, 4-6-6. 5-5-5. No, I must have picked the team to do better because the personnel is there for Paul. I must have been confusing with someone else. This team sneaky. Jake Locker is not that bad a card. We saw Tim win a championship with him in Autumn Wind.
And Alfred
Morris. He got the good receivers, of course, so that bumps up Locker. Alfred Morris is sneaky too. I've been doing having some success with him in Battle Royale. You give him the ball. He's one of those guys, like you said,
He'll break those 20 yards.
Really not good enough to call a lot of run against him.
Yep.
But he breaks long runs, and he also has some nice 4, 5, 6 yard gains. He's not a Tiki Barber, Sean Alexander, all or nothing, Robert Smith, all or nothing type of card, those famous cards.
Right.
So having said that, Paul's not lining up the scoreboard. It's been more of a defensive effort. The defense looks good. His 4 losses so far: lost to Baltimore by a field goal, lost to Mick, not Maxie, lost to Mick's 41-24. Lost to Arizona, former champion. He's doing a nice job with that team this year. They're not that great a team. 28-14. Lost to Randy, 23-22. Good win by Randy against a good coach with a decent team.
Yep.
His victories were against Miami handily. Jacksonville, 27, real good win. Beat you 20-10.
Yep.
Beat Cleveland 34-6. So he's actually had good success against the playoff teams. Had a couple of stubbed his toe against a couple of non-looking playoff teams right now. So interesting team. So I got to really prepare for that game against him. I always prepare against Paul because I've been lucky against him the last couple of years. For some reason, his Drew Brees on one of his teams. And he always had a horrible game against me. For some reason, I have no idea why. And let's see. Third quarter, he's got to play my Jets, who are doing well. He's got to play Houston, defending champs. He's got to play Ed, who's always a good coach. And you got the Denver game. We don't Renee can coach, but not a very good team. The fourth quarter, he's going to play Washington, who I like. He's got to play Detroit. We just looked at. He's got to play Oakland. Boy, he's got a tough schedule. He's going to play Kansas City. Yeah. He's got to play Kansas City, me, and Houston. It seems like the whole league is. It's like, well, I shouldn't say that. Some teams that he's got, but he's got to play Kansas City, Houston, and me, and then he's also got to play Ed, Oakland, Washington, and
Kansas. Kansas, yeah, that's it.
And then Denver's a supposed easy game, and Renee's 3-5 in coaching. Oh, Detroit to the game, coaching out the Wazoo. So that's going to be I can't pick that team. I know it's Paul. But boy, if he goes 5-3 with that team, that's a hell of a job.
Yeah, he's going to have to, work his butt off to get into the playoffs. But I still think he's got a shot. I think at 9-7 is a good bet for him. He's going to beat a couple of those good teams. He did that in the first half of the season. Yep. And then who knows what happens once the playoffs get here.
Yeah, good coach always has a shot. But I'm going to pick Paul misses the playoffs this year. We did maybe 8-8, but I think he will. He might even beat me. I think he'll upset some teams. But I think he's going to just miss it because I think 4-4, the schedule is too tough the rest of the way. We did the Niners already. Washington's the last 4-4 team, which is good. I've wanted to talk about this team for a while because they're very interesting. You told me this guy was a good coach coming into the league. He's the guy that tried to make the Bobby Wagner deal with you that got overturned, right?
Yes.
And then Jason Worlds retired, which no one saw coming at the age of 27. So just think how bad that would have been for him at that point. But we didn't know that back then, but we're not going to open up that can of worms. But we both looked at this team had a good team. I think we both picked it to win at least 10 games, maybe even 12 games.
Right.
The team's 4-4 because he's had a brutal schedule. If I bring up his personnel for a minute, as Dennis definitely wants to wrap it up, he's got Chase Daniel as a starting quarterback. No wonder he's losing. No, that's the pro set formation. So it's Phillip Rivers. I don't know what's going on here, but
he probably moved in there.
Hey, Keith, how would you send? I'm going to send Ed a new. Send Ed a new coach file because Chase Daniel, I don't think you want to just start in quarterback. But
no, he must have
trying to trick us.
He must have had him kneeing the ball out in the 35-11 win over Buffalo. Over Buffalo, he beat Buffalo.
Yeah, that's a good win, solid win. Helps the college football thing. Strength of schedule. He's got Phillip Rivers. He's got D'Angelo Williams, Garrett Blunt. He's got Dwayne Bowe, Brian Hall. His computer manager's all screwed up.
Yeah,
Julio Jones on the bench. This isn't right. Anyway, he's got Julio Jones, D'Angelo Williams, Garrett Blunt, Phillip Rivers, Brian Hartline, Heath Miller, Julius Thomas, Martellus Bennett. So he's got some very fine offensive personnel. Not great running backs, but they can be effective. Plays a 3-4 that goes 4-5-6, 5-5-6-4, 6-4, 5-4. Lack of pass rush is a problem. Dump off probably killing him. Safety 4 is a little weak, but that's if you're going to have 4s, it's not a bad place to have them. But probably his defense is a little bit underperformed, but not really. He's given up 176 points. He scored 200. Maybe I overrated the team coming into the year. I know he's had a real tough schedule. Let's see. He's lost to Oakland by 20, lost to Nathan by 1, lost to you 20-9, lost to Cincinnati 26-20. So already that's Cincinnati, Seattle, St. Louis, and Oakland. Teams that are 5-3 teams, a 6-2 team, and a 7-1 team. Then he beat Indianapolis, Detroit, Buffalo, and Houston. So he played 5 teams 5-3 or better, and then also played Detroit. Played 5 teams 5-3 or better, one of which was 6-2, one of which was 7-1, and also played the 500 Detroit. Now in the second half, like, okay, second half schedule should get easier, right?
No.
Let's see. Not so much. He's got to play Cleveland 5-3. He's got to play the Jets 6-2. Yep. Baltimore 5-3. He's got 4-4 teams in here. Like Randy's a good 4-4 team. Atlanta with Mick is 4-4. This guy, Cleveland 5-3. Even Arizona's 3-5. They're not in the 1-2 win group. And he's got Chicago, who I think is better than a 1-7 team. So he's had a tough schedule. His schedule gets easier, but not easy. I think he has maybe the toughest schedule in the whole league by the end of the year, because he will have played by the end of the year. He'll have played Cincinnati, the Jets, Seattle, St. Louis, Baltimore. I counted it. There's like 10 teams right now over 500. He plays like 8 of them. He plays like 10 teams that are 500 or better, and he only plays like 1 team that's like 2 wins or fewer. So
everybody but Jacksonville in the top.
Yeah. So. You already play Kansas City?
No, I guess not.
Oh yeah, those 2.
Yeah, Kansas
but
City.
he had a real tough schedule. I still think he can make the playoffs because the Jets are the only team on the second half that's really in that upper echelon group right now. There are no other teams with 6 wins, and the 500 teams and the 5-3 teams, they're not great. He's shown some good coaching ability. You say he's a good coach, but he's got to have the work cut out for him. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting team to watch. If he finishes 8-8, he'll
be 9-7 and be like the bottom seed, and might pull off one of those upsets in the early 8 versus 10 round type of games.
That's why I need a bye. But but if he finishes 8-8, it'll be because of the schedule. He could finish 8-8. I'll go with you. I think he'll make it to 9-7. Now, if you want to go, I'll do the rest of the teams myself if you want, because I know it's late, and I would like to give a little bit of attention to the teams at the bottom of the standings. What do you want to do?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna go get some stuff cleaned up, but I think it's on my account. So in order for me I can't leave, otherwise it'll stop the broadcast. So I'll leave it running with you handling everything, and then I'll check back in.
All right, can you make me the lock on my screen or whatever the hell, whatever it does?
Yes, I have. I will do that right now.
Let me know when
you are presenting. You're presenting to everyone. So
presenting. All right, and as soon as you leave, it's bashing Russell Wilson time.
I won't leave. I'll just leave, but I won't leave electronically. So I'll talk to you later, Tom.
All right. So I'll just continue and sign off, or you'll come back to say goodbye. What should I do?
Yeah, I might come back to say goodbye. But congratulations in advance on your upcoming SSFA title. You certainly look like the one to beat. So
thanks very much. It was a tough haul. I'm proud to. I'm not even the number 1 seed. I'm not even the first. It's like the 1981 playoffs. I'm not even the first half of the season champion.
It should be fun. It should be fun.
It
really looks like there's.
I don't think this team's going to win the Super Bowl. I think I have a good chance to make it, though. I don't know why. I just feel that way. Now I'll jinx myself. I don't lose Super Bowls. If I make it, I've won. Except for this one league where they had injuries and like four guys on my defense were out. They were like pre-assigned injuries before we changed it. It was a long story, but I lost like 3 6s and a 5 for the Super Bowl. Thanks a lot for that. But otherwise, I've won one of the Super Bowls I've been in.
Nice.
But now I've jinxed myself, so I'll get in the Super Bowl this year. I'll get hammered. Someone will. Jay owes me. Jay could take it to me. Nathan could take it to me. You could. I wouldn't want to lose to you. I wouldn't want to play in the Super Bowl and lose to you. I'd be upset with that.
Oh, I have a feeling we're going to meet up in one of the earlier rounds, so it'll be before the Super Bowl.
Are you planning on losing a lot of games?
Maybe. I don't think my team's as good as it's played so far. Let's put it that way. So,
but you do a great job coaching. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my team is overachieving. You think my team's overachieving or not really?
No, I think it's right where it should be. I think. Like I said, that combination. I
think the record is where it should be, but the stats and the scores of some of these games
pretty amazing.
Like they're overachieving a little bit.
Yeah, and you're not even using Marshawn Lynch to his fullest capability. So watch out, league, when he turns around and unleashes the beast.
He's extra.
Yep.
Well, next year I got Jonathan Stewart. He might have a better card. He will have a better card. Jonathan Stewart will have a real nice card next year.
Not better than Marshawn Lynch. Come
sure,
on now.
Sure will.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
When you get a chance.
No, I've seen his yards per whatever carry, but it's about the competition, and the NFC South is nowhere near what the AFC West was. I mean, the NFC West.
Yeah, so, but you also got to factor in the quarterback, and Cam Newton, his stats are nowhere near as good as Russell Wilson's stats, as you would be the first to tell me. Boy, that NFC South looks pretty awful for defense.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah, I think you're going to be a little bit disappointed. It'd still be a good card, but it won't be better than Marshawn Lynch's card.
809 yards, 4.6 average.
Yeah, you're playing against cream puffs there, against the Saints and the Falcons and
the Buccaneers. I know.
That's
I forgot. Yeah. Well, what was Lynch's? But Lynch's card might be a little worse than people think this year, though, because Wilson's got a real good card. Lynch had a 4.7 average. He'll be real good.
Yeah, and he's playing against the Cardinals and the 49ers.
What am I going to
do? Rams have a great run defense too. So all three of those NFC West teams are packed.
What am I going to do for a quarterback? I mean, Peyton Manning's arm fell off.
His stats were still good though, so his track card will look solid.
I'm being facetious.
I think that their plan to use Brock Osweiler more in the preseason and the camps and everything is a good one. I think that they should actually think about, giving him some more regular season starts. Save Peyton's arm for the playoffs.
Only problem Manning's scoring next to the INTs. He actually had a 2.5 INT percentage, which is high by modern standards. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to run the ball 50 times with Lynch.
Look at Drew Brees' card. The last couple of years, he's had a 2.5 interception percentage. Check out his stats for the last couple of years. I bet you he'll have something like Brees' card where he has like a straight pick on 2 or 3 plus a high number. You made a comment like that about Brees' card in one of these shows, and Brees' card this year is not a high interception card. Yeah, but look. No, it's not. But it's more than he usually gets.
No. This year, the current card we're on right now is a low INT card. Who has him? We just did so many teams. Mick has him. Right. I'm going to check that real quick before you go. And this is people don't mind listening to this, so this is fine. If they do, they can always change the channel to the other Strat broadcast.
Exactly.
Yeah. Last year, Brees only gave up a 1.8.
Yeah, look at not this year's card, but the last year's card.
No, I know that, but you mentioned about this year's card. This year, his flat splits 2 to 3 and 2. His short splits 2 to 3 and 12 and 2. His long splits 2 to 5 and 2 to 3. This year is a very low turnover card.
No, it's the 2012 cards. I'll share my screen.
No. I know that he had a high pick card last year.
Okay.
Just thinking, one of the shows we were talking about this year's set, we were talking about a team that had him on this card. You mentioned being high turnover, so I think you're confusing with last year's. So his card this year is not high turnover. That's
right.
No,
but what
I'm not trying to say that you were wrong. I'm not trying to make that point. I'm just trying to say that Brees this year actually has a great card. Or has a low INT card.
Oh, it's a great card. It's fantastic. But what I'm saying is that Peyton's card next year will be similar to what Brees had in 2012. Yeah. So here, let me share this out.
I'm still presenting to everyone, so.
Okay, so let me turn that off.
I've got League Manager here, so.
Okay, so his.
Well, I think his INT was like about 2.8, I think, that year.
Yeah, let's see. 2.8, yeah, you're absolutely right. So 2.8, and he had that straight pick on 10 on a long pass. But look at that. Even with that, you have, a good amount of, units completed right, guessed right and guessed wrong. So he'll have that kind of card with a little bit better flat pass card.
This was a crazy card because you got a guy throws for over 5,000 through almost 5,200 yards, 43 touchdowns, 63% completed. They gave him 4 and 6 incomplete on flat pass wrong.
Yeah,
I mean he looks like Michael Vick on the flat pass here.
Yeah. Yep. Russell Wilson has the same kind of card this year.
Well, I mean, Brees threw the ball almost 700 times.
Right.
It runs the ball more than it throws it. Now I know Brees has got a wall of 7s in front of him. If you do a replay, and I guess they want you to fire it downfield, you're going to get your dump offs.
But the dump offs are going to come on his flat pass right. So even with that, he should have
Yeah, but
He
don't
should have
both
more
give
hits.
you extra completion. He should have more hits because this is. I mean, look, if you're giving Drew Brees a worse flat pass than Jake Locker, that doesn't. Oh, maybe they want to tell me the interception split I'm wrong is or +5. So it's really more like 7 units of incomplete. But even 7 units of incomplete, that's more than just 7.
Yeah.
I don't know. What I know what Trey Mack's doing.
Yeah.
I love the game. They know what they're doing, but every now and then you get something that makes you say, "Why? What is this? Why are they doing this?"
Yeah.
This card is great deep, but if I look at this card as a whole, is this like an awesome quarterback with a great year card? I don't think so.
It's a good battle royale card. Big plays.
Yeah, we need the big plays in battle royale because giving up like 42% completed for the year so far.
Nice, good defense.
Nickel 335, baby. Old school. It's 1984 all over again.
I can't wait to do a battle royale show with you. But I gotta log off. You keep going. You do your thing. Let me switch it back to so you're presenting.
All right, you're gonna pop back into at least log off and close it or whatever, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, do you have an ETA for when you will come say goodbye? And listeners, don't worry. We are going to finish with the rest of the teams. Do you have an ETA when you might come back and say goodbye so I know that if I'm finished, maybe I'll wait a few minutes till you come on until I know that it's closed off properly?
Just text me. I have my phone with me.
Text
me when you're done.
This is more riveting broadcasting for the people.
Okay,
all right. See you later. All right, guys. Sorry for that little 7-minute foray, although we had some conversation about some interesting things like Drew Brees and flat passing and interception percentages and what Peyton Manning's going to look like next year, and compared a couple of running back cards, based upon division and the quarterback. You always got to look at that stuff for your guys. You can't just say, well, this guy had a 4.8. He's going to have a real good card. Who was his quarterback? Who was he playing against? How much did that team run the ball compared to throwing the ball? A guy like Marshawn Lynch, one of these years didn't even have that great of an average. And still got a very fine card because the Seahawks run the ball so much, and he had played against a schedule with a lot of good run defenses on it. So you need to factor those things in. I think the current card, Marshawn Lynch's average last year in the NFL was only 4.2. He had 1,257 yards and a 4.2 average, and he's got one of the 5 best cards in the set. It's not a great card, I don't think. I've got him, but it's a pretty nice card. There's a lot of things well. It's a good right-wrong card. He's got good short gains on end run wrong. He's got some short gains and some big runs on off tackle. Get you some solid yardage on right, of course. Not quite what you might hope for at a beast mode, but a pretty solid card. And in a set that is just screaming for good running back cards, it's one of the better cards in there. So you always got to factor that in. You'd really rather have a running back on a team that doesn't throw the ball a ton, and where he's maybe more of the man. A reputation I think helps also. If Adrian Peterson suddenly went to the Cowboys and had a big year, but they still threw the ball a lot, and Romo was his usual efficient, prolific self, I don't think that AP's card is suddenly going to get nerfed horribly. I think AP would probably still get a real good card, maybe more so than DeMarco Murray would get with the same numbers. Now, if you have a historic type of year like DeMarco Murray just had, of course you're going to get a real good card. But, for some of the second-level guys, those are things to look at. Think of a guy like Fred Jackson, always had a real good card. When's the last time Buffalo had a real good quarterback card? Jim Kelly, pretty much. Drew Bledsoe, maybe you're pushing it. But, Fred Jackson always has a good card. Buffalo never has great quarterbacks. Jamal Charles, yes, we know he's a great NFL back. I think he gets even better cards because Kansas City's quarterback play is not prolific, and they run the ball a lot. So Strat takes all those things into play. You might see a good card from, maybe, let's say, one of the Cleveland backs. I forget it was West or the other guy had a pretty good average this year. Might get a real good card because they have no quarterbacks on that team. Always things to watch for when you think about the future of your team. That's why I know a lot of guys like Eddie Lacy a lot. I was concerned about him for Strat, partially because with Aaron Rodgers there, you have to have a real good average to get a real good card. I think Lacy did end up with a pretty decent average this year, but if he has a 4.3 average, he's going to get a pedestrian card. Anybody playing with Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers, any team that's throwing the ball like 600 times or more and, running it 400 times, and the quarterback puts up a lot of completions and yardage, those running backs don't always get good cards unless they're those scat back guys, that have a high average in 100 attempts. Well, every now and then you get surprised, but it's something to think about when you're drafting prospects as well, in my opinion. So moving on, my apologies to the teams we didn't get to yet, that Dennis and I both didn't get to. Dennis wanted to do a 1-hour show tonight. And if you know anything about me, I can't do anything in 1 hour. I'm going to talk my throat sore because I love the sound of my own voice. So let's face it. Okay. I'm doing this, for 40 guys, not even. But anyway, I'm doing it because I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's a hobby. I love talking Stratomatic, and I love hanging out with Dennis and talking Stratomatic football or NFL football here on April 16th. Baseball season underway. I've become more of a baseball fan this year. My brother's getting into it. I'm not really a huge baseball fan. I haven't really been since I was a kid, but I do still play a little strap baseball. That's the secret between you and me, because football is, of course, just much better. I mean, I play 4 strap football leagues, and I fiend over the release of the ratings and this and that and do all these spreadsheets. Baseball, I GM and help a guy in a local league, and we work together, and I've known him and all these other guys for 30 years. Otherwise, I don't think I would be playing any strap baseball. Nothing, if you're a baseball fan, nothing wrong with the game. It's a fine game. But it's like chess. And to me, I'm going to get some people mad. It's like chess and checkers. I mean, baseball, come on. All right, my hitter's better against lefties. I need a left-handed reliever who's backwards. It's very, very complicated, right? Should I bunt? Should I try to go for third? Don't make the first out of, don't make the first out of third base or the last out of third base, whatever. I mean, come on. At football, every single play you're making a call that makes a huge impact on that play. I mean, baseball, if your guy's a 1-column guy and you roll a 2-column all day, sayonara. I mean, strategy comes in the late innings, but you either got the good bullpen or you don't, and you got to use the bullpen wisely. But everyone knows how to do that. I mean, strap football is so much more complex. I mean, let's see. Should I bunt or not bunt? That's your baseball decision. Here's your football decision. Should I run inside? Should I run off tackle at his 4? But he's probably going to plug with his linebacker. Maybe I should throw it at linebacker, but he knows that I'm thinking that way. So maybe he's actually going to flood that flat pass zone. So maybe I should throw deep. But he knows I'm thinking that, and he's got a 4 covering a decent receiver. Maybe he's going to drop the other linebacker in double coverage. Maybe I should run a draw play, but if he gets this right, I'm going to lose yardage. Maybe I should throw a flat to the other zone where he's going to drop the linebacker into double coverage against the guy that linebacker is covering. Bang. There's a good play. That's strap football. Here's strap baseball. Should I bunt or swing away? I guess I'll bunt. Click. Anyway, chess and checkers. And that's putting it, well, anyway, that's putting it kindly. Strap baseball is whatever. It's a good baseball simulation game. It's fun. But I mean, come on. Strap football head to head? Are you kidding me? Come on. You gotta learn, I can teach you the baseball game in about 5 minutes. Righty, lefty, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 defense. I know, yeah, there's a little more than that. Yeah, stealing is a little more complex, but football, are you kidding me? Right, wrong, double team, pass block matchups, free safety blitzing when that does to your defense, sniper scope, run containment, draw plays. I mean, come on. Anyway, I wish the USFL was still around so I could watch some football this week. I'm not an arena football guy. There's one of those leagues running around or whatever. USFL was fun, man. I was a teenager, 13, 14 years old. Saturday, Sunday afternoon, I used to listen to the New Jersey Generals. I think the announcer's name was Bob Papa. I would sit up in my room in the attic. My brother, who some of you know, was away at the Army at the time. He's older than I am by about 6 years. I was about 13, 14 years old. Sit up in the attic and play solitaire strap football with the 1981 season. I was doing a replay of the Green Bay Packers. I'm not a Packers fan, but they were kind of a cool team. They were 8-8, and they had Lynn Dickey and James Lofton and I think Paul Kaufman was the tight end, and you had Eddie Lee Ivory, and another good running back. I can't remember. Maybe Philip Epps, maybe. Was that his name? I'm not looking this up right now, but another good running back there, and not much of a defense, but you had some good pass rush. I thought they were fun. I did a replay with them with the old style cards, 1981, before the 82 set came out. I never felt like the new game from 82 on was as good of a solitaire game. Better game head to head, no doubt, but not as good a solitaire game. I like the old solitaire style. And I used to play solitaire strat football games and listen to the New Jersey Generals on the radio. And I liked it a lot. It was a lot of fun. And you could watch those games. I mean, you got to realize there was only 28 NFL teams at the time and 12 USFL teams the first year. So you had 40 teams of pro football players. Right now we've got 32. Now, I don't know about the, population explosion, maybe more people playing, maybe less people playing football and playing basketball or whatever. I have no idea. But probably less people playing sports in general. I don't know. But you could watch those games. It was better. It was in between college football and the NFL, and quite a few players made the Pro Bowl, and there was a lot of quarterbacks that weren't that great, but those games were fun. You could watch those games. They weren't awful. I think they were better than any league since. Even though you've got a Super Bowl MVP and Hall of Famer in Kurt Warner, who was playing in the Arena League. I think as a league, the USFL was better than anything that's any secondary league that's come since it. No USFL this year, so I can't watch a competitive football game this weekend, unfortunately. I'll check out the Mets. Maybe I'll go out, see what happens. So so now if your record is 3-5 or worse, you've now been waiting 130 minutes to hear your team called. So I'm going to get into these teams. Arizona, coached by Kurt. The team is 3-5. I don't think we picked them to make the postseason. I think they aren't doing too badly. They've only been outscored by 14 points. I don't think they're an awful team, if I recall correctly. It's always nice when Stratomatic league manager stops working when I need it during a broadcast. There we go. That probably says more about my computer. Yeah, this was an interesting team. This is a team that had RG3, who's not awful this year, despite everything you have read about him. Stephen Ridley, Roy Halou. I don't think RG3's coach is going to be too good next year. Some decent pass blocking, some very good pass blocking, some other shaky pass blocking. Tequan Underwood gets down the field in a hurry. Not a lot for receiving targets, but a decent little. You could do some things with offense, trying to West Coast it a little bit. 3-4 defense. I don't think this guy's really a nose tackle. Jonathan Babinoa, no, he's at 4-3. Tackle 5-2. So he gets nerfed down to a 4. And you have a 5-4-4 line. You got a 5-0-4-5 linebackers. 4-4-5 in the secondary. So this is really not a good team. They've been future-oriented as they should be. And it looks like it's going to take a little longer to get there. And league manager decides not to respond at this time. Thank you, league manager. If I close Excel. And there we go. I get a hiccup every now and then. And looking at the schedule for this 3-5 team, coached by Kurt, I want to say Sliper. That rings a bell for some reason. Might be his AIM handle or something like that. These things actually rarely come from the guy's actual name. This is Kurt. That's Keith Slopers. That's his AIM. Then you got SC Retliff, whatever. I'm not trying to reveal the guy's name. I'm trying to remember it. I hope this is still broadcasting. Dennis, it says live. Okay, we're good to go. 3-5 record. He's building the team for the future. He's a former champion many years ago, I believe, in SSFA. Has fallen on some lean times, but he'll probably get the ship righted eventually, because usually if you have won one championship, it means you know what you're doing to some extent. Started out 1-3, had a big victory over Dennis the Seahawks that had to feel good. And had losses to Minnesota, Miami, and a bad one against Green Bay, 41-10. So I had some losses against teams that aren't even that great in Minnesota and Miami. Green Bay's a pretty good team. So started out 1-3. Then you go to the second block of games. And you had victories over Buffalo, who was struggling, of course, going for the future. San Diego, 28-14. Paul's a good coach. So that's a good sign for this team. The losses were a close one to Oakland. Could have made a big difference, and a close one to Atlanta, to mix Atlanta team. So you have a team 3-5, doesn't have any real close wins, has 2 real close losses, so he could easily be 4-4, which would be a real nice job because the personnel not the strongest of this team right now, but they're probably future oriented, I assume. Hopefully for Kurt, RG3 ends up being okay. I think the reports of his demise are exaggerated, but I also don't think he's going to be a elite quarterback like it looked like he was going to be when he was a rookie. So that's kind of a bad break. Although Kurt did have 2 years of info to go on. Well, he didn't play it all the second year, right? Or did he miss the whole? No, he played hurt. That's right. He did have 2 years of info to go on. But I think most of us thought that the year following the injury, he'd play better. And he didn't really. So that'll be worth watching for anybody who watches the NFL or follows it even casually. Second half, let's see, we got this 3-5 team takes on Washington, who's not bad, takes on Detroit, 4-4, not bad. St. Louis, 5-3, a very good team. And then New Orleans, that's kind of a tough slate there. Then he finishes up with San Fran, Kansas City, and then Denver and Indianapolis. You get some soft teams there. You got some decent teams there. Should see some more wins out of the Cardinals. At least maybe 2 or 3 more wins. Maybe get to 5 or 6 wins. Maybe go 4-4 and get to 7-9. That's what I think you're going to see from this team the rest of the way. I should look at some stats now that Dennis is not in a hurry. We probably would have had like a 4-hour show if Dennis didn't set a timeline, which I don't know if that's good or bad. You have to listen to it in installments. It'll be like binge watching. If you guys are on Netflix, maybe you watch Daredevil. I'm an old Marvel Comics guy from when I was a kid, and watching that, I think it's a pretty good series. Very dark, kind of brutal, not for the kids at all, but very interesting. If you're a superhero guy, definitely worth watching. If you're not, then probably not, because you probably don't like superheroes. Stephen Ridley's having a nice year, 817 yards, 6.2 average. RG3 is throwing the ball about 300 times. Teams run the ball 194 times. And RG3's had a decent year. 13 TDs, 6 interceptions, 79.7 rating. It's not bad for a strat team. And the team is outgaining the opposition, so some nice work there by Kurt with his charges. The Denver Broncos we talked about earlier, I probably should go over them again. The defense is brutal. They got some tough games coming up. Renee's done a tremendous job to get this team 3-5 and to give up a little over 20 points a game if you take out the 56-point game. I know people say, well, if you're going to take out everyone's highest scoring game, blah, 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 but 56 points, that's a lot. Even if you take 10 points off of that game, he's under 200 points allowed, which is pretty good for just a dreadful defensive unit. So he's really coaching it up nicely, but he's got a tough schedule the rest of the way. Not a lot of opportunities for wins there for Renee, I would say. Interesting. Romo, only 1,500 yards, 57%, 8 touchdowns, 7 INTs, 76%. DeMarco Murray, 748. Not a lot going on here on the offensive side of the ball. 2,400 yards, not even. So less than 300 yards per game and being outpossessed by 55 minutes, which doesn't always matter that much, but it does when you're also giving up 700 plus more yards. And the penalties are fairly even. He is +5 in turnovers. He probably does a lot of West Coast stuff. Maybe not. Some of the averages aren't too bad. Mike Wallace, 17-3. The running back, DeMarco Murray, the only regular guy really under 10. So not an extreme West Coast. I know Romo has that 7 flat pass wrong incomplete. I have him in the middle league. Giving up almost 400 yards a game, which is not good, but it's not awful for this league. So good job by Renee getting this team to 3-5. The defense is awful. DeMarco Murray's squad is not that great. Offense doesn't have enough else to really get it going. But he's rebuilding. He's finally embraced, I think, rebuilding. And I'm sure he'll get there eventually because he's a smart guy. Hard to be a good coach if you're not a smart guy. Minnesota Vikings 3-5. They've given it 229 points. Who's coaching the Vikings again now? That's Scott, or is that the other guy? That's Tony. Of course, I know Tony. AJ Pierscala. And Scott's the New Orleans guy. That's right. Okay. Tony even listened into one of these games or broadcasts one time. We didn't advertise this one. Yeah, we just wanted to get the show done and get it out there. Vikings 3-5. This is the Andrew Luck team. He's got a couple of victories. Kind of hurt the Bears season there with that victory over the Bears. He's going totally future with this team. I remember talking to him and reading his stuff on the forum. But you got a team that's got Andrew Luck, but I mean the running backs, Steven Jackson, Bryce Brown, nothing there that's going to make anyone really pay much attention to the run. The receivers are pretty bad, except for Gronk at tight end. You might want to trade Gronk while the value is up before he falls apart as a big guy who's had some injuries already. Offensive line needs some work. This was a team with like a terrible roster. And you got Andrew Luck, and now he's going to build like everything around him. The good news is Luck is young, and the quarterbacks play for a long time. So this team goes 5-5-5 on the front. Fairly young group, especially Damon Harrison and Fletcher Cox. Goes 6-5, 4-6 at linebacker. I want to trade Brian Arakpo. Goes 5-4-4-4 in the secondary. Chris Harris will be a 6 next year. Well, if this team gets a decent running back maybe next year, maybe they're a lot more in the mix. But you got to be careful when you're building. You don't want to try to compete too soon. If you have a quarterback who's real good and you need a lot of other pieces on your team and you have confidence in your ability to draft long-term starters, I would advise to try and do that. But having said that, some of these other guys like Dennis and Nathan can just work magic with trading a bunch of picks for guys for the year and put together a really nice team. But there's nothing worse than going for the year and having it not work out. You miss the playoffs maybe or whatever, and you just really hurt yourself because now you're down picks, you're down young players, and your team is probably not going to be that good the following year, and you've set yourself back. So it'll be an interesting approach. And Luck makes it fun to play with while you're building, I would imagine. Although, look, if you have a great quarterback and you get even a decent running back and the rest of the team is not completely awful, you can usually compete and maybe make the playoffs or at least hang around if you're a good coach. Minnesota 3-5 has victories over Arizona, the Bears 31-28, and the Saints. So he's only beaten teams that also are under 500. He lost to Atlanta. That's Mick, 34-21. Lost to Ed, 33-27. Lost to KC by 10. Lost to Seattle, 23-10. Lost to Denver, 26-14. So he's had a hard time getting a victory against the winning teams or even the 500 teams. Rest of the way, I see for Minnesota, Cincinnati 7-1, the Jets 6-2, Jacksonville 6-2, St. Louis 5-3 and a good team, Oakland 5-3 and a good team. So that's a tough sledding. That's going to be tough sledding rather for the Vikings the rest of the way. Teams that are easier for them to possibly pick up a win against include the Colts, Buffalo, and Miami. Those teams are all struggling. And let's take a look at what Andrew Luck is doing right now. So these teams we're getting a little more in depth with these teams. So their long wait is rewarded. Andrew Luck 54.5%. He's thrown the ball 285 times, so that's like 30. It's like 35 times a game. It's a healthy number, but not too much. 15 TDs, 9 interceptions. I like Luck's card this year. It's not a great top-of-the-line card, but the ints are low. He's got some must runs. He can throw pretty much any pass. It's kind of a nice, solid, all-around card. It's a very good card for a guy's like first good card, if you know what I mean. And next year, his card, it's interesting to speculate on what his card's going to look like next year. I think it might be disappointing to some people. As you know, I'm an Andrew Luck owner in the fall league. Probably you know that because most of the guys in here are also in SOMSFA as what's his name? as Dennis calls it, and as I have taken to calling it. If I go to ESPN.com, I see the Mets won today. Andrew Luck's stats for the year, maybe not as good as you might think for strat purposes. Let's take a look at Mr. Luck. Just completed his third NFL year. 61.7. That's the problem right there. And nowadays, if you complete under like 63, 63.5, your flat pass card is usually not going to be that great. You know, you got to, if you're still in an old mentality and you think 60% is good, guess again. 64 around there is where you need to be most of the time. 40 TDs, 16 interceptions, 7.7 average gain, pretty good, not awesome. The guys with the big numbers and the big years tend to hit an 8 average gain or higher. 16 interceptions and 616 attempts. That is 16 divided by, that's almost 3, right? That's like 2.7, 2.6, 2.5. Not bad for a team that threw the ball a lot and doesn't have a good running game. The division, though, is not that great defensively. The Texans were pretty decent. But you might. He also ran the ball a lot less. And actually, the must-run quarterbacks, I think, get better right guest cards because there's fewer incompletions. And if they can run it all, they're giving you, they're giving you more chances to get 5, 6, 7 yards. And the quarterbacks who run the ball, you can get your completions, but you can also get 3, 4, 5, 6 yards. Whereas the guys who can't run, it's all or nothing. It's either, a 12-yard short pass or zero gain. The Colts had 1,612 yards rushing, a 3.9 average. That's not good. And he was above average for them, 4.3, so you take him out. Ran a bit this year, 64 carries 4 times a game, ran more last year. 4.3, nothing too exciting. I don't know how many kneel downs are in that equation. So maybe his card will still be pretty good. But if you're thinking, Dan Marino, Drew Brees, that type of card, I don't think you're going to get it from Andrew Luck this year. And I'm an Andrew Luck owner. So I'm more of a second level card. Hard to, maybe a good Matt Stafford card, maybe that type of card. I'm not sure. Probably a little better than obviously, except for Stafford's 5,000-yard season. Maybe a little better than Stafford's best other card. We'll see. Probably more downfield hits, more interceptions, less flat pass success than Luck's current card that we're on right now. But I probably spent too much time on Andrew Luck, but Dennis isn't here, so too bad. The Vikings looked at the tough schedule, so it'll be tough for this team to get a lot of wins in the second half, and they'll be looking at the draft, but he's rebuilding, and he's patient, so good luck there. AJ Tony, I think is his name. So he'll be fine. The Colts are 2-6. That's Neil Shannon, I think, who I know even better now. I've known him for a while, but I know him even better from... No, it's Nelson. Neil Shannon's in Battle Royale, my bad. Nelson, of course. I know Nelson well. And
Don't tell me you're still going.
Oh, yeah. I'm still going.
What are you doing? Are you breaking down the genealogy of the coaches and their ancestry to try to figure out who's going to win?
What I did was I went into an elaborate analysis of each team's 8-year SSFA drafting history, extrapolating values for where they picked and who. No, I'm just going on and on. What are you talking about? Yeah, I decided to take my time and go slow.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. But a Nelson always pays their debts. So don't be talking bad about Nelson and his Colts. I'm doing the Colts now. I got a few teams left, but are you ready? You're ready to go to sleep, aren't you? Yeah, no, but go ahead. Quickly tell me what you're at. What are you doing?
I'm doing Nelson, and I got a couple of the teams to do.
Okay.
I'll speed it up now. I had said that I would do them longer because you were gone. I forgot you had to come back and sign us off. So I was really taking my time and going in depth with these teams. Giving them extra attention because they sat around for 2 hours waiting. So now they're going to get the short shrift. All right, Indianapolis, Nelson, 2-6. He's got Sam Bradford and Rashard Mendenhall. I wish I could say the future looked better with those guys, but Bradford's injured, of course. Mendenhall's out of football, isn't he? He retired, didn't he? Yes.
I think so, yeah. Lamar Miller has a nice card coming next year.
Yeah, he's got Lamar Miller. Should have a good card next year. He always has some decent personnel. Just never seems to get enough to get over the hump and has had bad luck, of course, with Bradford and his injuries. Defense goes 6-5-4-6, 5-5-6. The defense actually has some pretty good personnel. Maybe a little bit of running game would have helped. He's only scored 144 points in 8 games. That is one of the lower totals in the league. That'll get you to 2-6 in a hurry. Only giving up 184, so he's not getting blown out too often. Victories came against Denver by 3 and Atlanta 17-10. So Mick has to win that game. Losses, a 1-point loss to Washington. Got beaten by the Jets 28-7. That game was actually worse than it sounds. 31-23 Kansas City. 23 or 29? 31-23 Kansas City. 13-6 Raiders, 27-20, 23-17 against you. So he's hung around a lot of these games. So maybe he gets some W's in the second half. He plays Minnesota, San Francisco, Chicago, Miami. Can maybe win a couple of those games. Then you got Detroit, Houston, Baltimore, Arizona. Maybe pick up a win there. Maybe get to 5 wins or so, 6 wins or so. And then looks to the future as he's drafting. Hopefully he's in position to draft a quarterback. Or Bradford, re-energizes his career.
Hey, Bradford's in a good spot now with the Eagles. You got to like that.
Yeah, or wherever he ends up. I'm still one of the things that he might end up getting traded. That might have been what the whole thing was about, but we'll find out in a couple of weeks during the draft, NFL draft. Miami, that's Bob. That's Bob, of course. And I thought Nelson was Neil Shannon for a minute, but it's not. Anyway, it's Bob of Miami. He's been in the league forever. AJ Apollo, Ray2 Apollo. He's 2-6, got 132 points, 227 allowed. That's not a good ratio, Dennis.
Yeah, he's heading for 2-12, 2-14, something.
Well, they got Eli Manning throwing a ton of picks. You got Giovanni Bernard not exciting too many people. You got Alshon Jeffrey getting a lot of double coverage. The receivers aren't bad, but he must be turning the ball over willy-nilly.
Go back to those receivers. I like those for if you're thinking about next year. Mohamed Sanu, Alshon Jeffries, Eddie Royal even might be usable next year. So, not bad.
Yeah, and Eli will be much better next year. Jordan Gross retired, of course, but you can find a tackle.
Yeah.
Giovanni Bernard. You got Brandon Bolden to running back like a lot of people do. It might be a decent running back crop next year, but this will all be after their year 2 of the NFL. So all the really good ones will get snatched up really early, a la Le'Veon Bell this year.
Right.
The defense 5-4-4-4, 4-5-4, 4-0-4-6.
Yeah, not even worth talking about this year with
if you hear the number 4 repeatedly during the when I'm talking about your defense, you're probably in trouble.
Yep.
Unless you're Renee. And I accidentally clicked off of the guy's team, so I can't even tell you about the future. But 2-6, had a win over Arizona, a close win, 23-20 over New Orleans. I don't know what the ratings were like for that game. Lost handily to everybody else, except for St. Louis game. They had a tough game. Nathan struggles. That doesn't bode well for this team. Plays Kansas City, Oakland. City's heading for 2-10. He plays Buffalo. Well, who knows? Someone's gonna.
Okay.
Somebody's gonna win that game unless it's a tie.
I can see
call that game. I'm gonna call the Miami Buffalo game.
Yes, absolutely. You should call every Buffalo game from here on out.
I can give him coaching advice. I'm not. That's a win, especially against Chicago. But he plays Oakland, Kansas City, Buffalo, the Colts, Jacksonville, Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago. He's got a couple of chances. I could see him picking up a couple more W's.
Yeah, you're right.
Getting to 4 wins, maybe more.
Yeah, I can see
the Buffalo Bills, 1-7 stands into the league, very enthusiastic. I think he's done a decent GM job. I think as long as he keeps drafting good young players, the coaching will come along.
Is this league where he picked Zach Stacy in the first round?
No.
Was that SOMSFA?
That's in SOMSFA. That's not him, is it?
So, yeah, he did pick Zach Stacy.
Stan, you probably shouldn't have done that.
Yes, that was
That's
not.
right.
That was. Besides that, you had to do a good job with your draft.
Well, I know an SSFA did a good job. He had a list for SOMSFA, so he may not have had time to prepare the list as thoroughly as he'd liked. Or
I think he did. I think he got Zach Stacy in both leagues, so maybe he didn't pick him in the first round. Let's check it out.
But I think his SOMSFA team is better than this team.
Yeah,
this team did a total job.
He did it properly in SSFA and picked Zach Stacy with the first pick of the 6th round, which is just about where he should go.
Better place to get him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this team has got Jay Cutler and Matt Schaub, Eddie Lacy, Jerome Simpson and Stephen Hill as your wideouts. That's not going to help you too much. Santana Moss. Yeah, this team is in pretty bad shape. They're very future oriented. They have the choice, really. Look, we've all had bad teams before, so I understand. I had a bad team for years in the fall, and I was in the top 5 of the draft every year. I drafted Jamarcus Russell, Mark Sanchez, Vince Young. Those guys did not improve my fortunes, but eventually I figured it out. So just stay the course, you'll be fine.
Yeah, J.J. Watt, Cam Chancellor. That's nice.
Yeah, I would trade Cam Chancellor.
Yeah, trade him to me.
I would trade him to you. If I'm rebuilding, if you're on the wrong side of 25 and I'm 3 years away, you're gone. And you give me picks. I keep getting more and more young guys.
Yeah, I would not do that. I would not trade one of the best guys at his position.
Well, yeah. Well, even if your quarterbacks are Jay Cutler and Matt Schaub, yeah, but you're an experienced, good coach, and you know that you can get a lot out of the team. If you feel like the team is very far away, right, and you have a guy 27 years old who's a great safety, and the team's 3 years away, you're going to keep that guy for what?
Well, I think that it depends on the player. I mean, is 27 really that old?
3 years of 30, and players tend to fall off at 30.
Yeah, maybe so.
Outside the quarterbacks and certain secondary guys. But I'm not saying give the guy away. I'm not saying, oh my God, you have to trade Cam Chancellor. I'm just saying, if I'm 3 years away, I need to get as many assets as I can. They're going to be there for me in 3 years, 3, 4, and 5.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Anyway, that's just my philosophy. But I'm a little more conservative. I mentioned that before, that you and Nathan can work magic with a roster and trading your picks and get a good team for the year. I'd say the long haul, you guys probably win more games than we're doing it your way. Have a better chance at a championship. But anyway, I like the young guys. Anyway, I'm trying to hurry to wrap it up, right? Because all right, Buffalo 1-7 doesn't take too long to find the win. Beat Oakland 2010, which is good. The losses were all the rest of the games. He's been outscored. I hope he's not upset about this. He seems like a good-natured guy.
No, he's good. He's a good guy.
He knows the team is struggling. He's being outscored literally almost 2-1, 119 to 237.
He'll have the top pick in the draft next year and be able to pick one of those quarterbacks to build with.
Yeah, and hopefully not another Zach Stacy. But was that him in SOMSFA? Did he draft Zach Stacy in the first round of SOMSFA?
He did, and that was by list, but we really should have overruled that and given him Andre Ellington. I tried to say that in the room, but whatever.
Guy as a team, he submits a list. I don't know what you're going to do, but look at the autumn wind. Remember those, so the top 10 those quarterbacks. Yeah. Anyway, is that Butch? That might be Butch.
For who?
No, that's that guy. What's the autumn wind guy who did that?
Dave Will.
He had a good year, but he missed the playoffs because the conference had more wins. He was 10-6, but he does have Geno Smith and Mike Lennon. So, there you go. Buffalo lost to St. Louis, lost handily to New Orleans. New Orleans only won of the season. Lost a close one to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I don't know, 7-1. They lost some close. They won some close games against some teams that aren't that great. Lost handily to Cleveland, Washington, Jacksonville. Hung around a little bit against Arizona. So yeah, this team is 1-7, and that schedule was not the toughest in the world. He's got to play Chicago, battle of 1-1 teams, but I think Chicago's got a much better personnel and experienced coach. Got to play the Jets. If he wins that game, it's going to be all over the form for years to come. He plays Miami, Houston, whatever, Minnesota, San Fran, Atlanta, Green Bay. Some chances for wins, but he's already 1-7, maybe 3-13 at best. So we'll see what happens. The Bears, I didn't think they were that bad, but I also didn't think they'd be on a pace to give up 520 points. Last in the league with 260 points allowed, which is going to lose you a lot of games. And he's only scored 178, which is not going to win you a lot of games. So he's being outscored by 88 points. That's 11 a game, which is a lot. Looking at the quick personnel, he's got Matthew Stafford, Reggie Bush, C.J. Spiller, who I traded to him, Toby Gerhardt. He's got Tyler Eifert, Jimmy Graham, Pierre Garcon, Antonio Brown. He's got a pretty good pass blocking. I don't know what the problem is on offense. That team should be able to do some things on offense. Although if they're giving up 30 points every game, I'm not sure it's going to matter. 3-4 defense goes 5-5-4, 0-4-4-4, 4-4-4-6. Maybe I should have picked this team to give up 500 points because that is a pretty bad-looking back seven. You only have one guy in the back seven who's not a 4 or a 0. and he's your free safety, which would be the one guy you would not need as much to be a non-4 or 0. So he's just getting lit up with the pass, and then guys are doing whatever they want to run the ball because he has to get past every single play with that back 7. He's not getting blown out all the time. I don't think he beat Houston. That must have been a bad game for Brad. It must have frustrated him. And let's see. Then he lost. He got a close loss to Detroit, 4-4. Got a close loss to Minnesota by 3. And then after that, it's not looking too good. I did play him. I had a fairly convincing victory against him, as you did.
Yeah.
He lost those 2 games. I'm not trying to,
From what I remember, it was just like you could move up and down the field. That was just, it was just too easy.
Yeah, I think because of the defense. I think I actually slowed up in the late 3rd quarter. But he lost. I'm not trying to. Yeah, and look, the facts are the facts. We're just saying what happened. Lawrence knows. I hate to say bad things. He lost those 2 games by a score of 76-14.
Yeah, and I think he's. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen this before, but his red zone efficiency against me was 0 for 0. So he never got into the red zone, which is that shows you how bad his luck was that game.
That's usually not a good sign.
Yeah, but he's got to be happy, even though he traded you his #1 pick. He's got to be happy that C.J. Spiller wound up with the Saints. I think that's going to be a good move for him, with potentially some decent cards down the line.
I hope so. I am a big C.J. Spiller fan. I like C.J. Spiller a lot, but I believe in a certain style of asset management. And a guy hits a certain age, and I don't need him at the position, and maybe I have other guys. And Jonathan Stewart already had a good year, and I didn't need Spiller this year. I was shopping him for the best deal I could get, and he was interested. And I hope so. I hope Spiller has a great career. If he goes out there and has 1,800 yards every year, I'd be very happy for Lawrence. And I'll draft a good player hopefully next year. I think I will. I'm pretty safe for those. We'll see what happens. Anybody could have a bad year, or whatever. Yeah. The second quarter, the other games weren't close. So I don't know.
This is the thing with that pick. You have a unique opportunity to get a young quarterback to eventually replace Peyton Manning, and it really wouldn't matter to you that much, in my opinion, if he had the #1 overall pick or the #10 pick, because there's going to be one of those quarterbacks available. Bridgewater, Bortles, Derek Carr. That you'll be able to get one of those guys at somewhere in the top 10.
I'll tell you this: there is no way. If all 3 of those guys have at least a decent year this year, there's no way that one of them will be there at #10. No chance. No chance.
So but what's the best that he's going to do?
The best now. Well, some of his losses weren't bad. Lost by 4 to Detroit. Lost by 3 to Minnesota. Lost 29-21 to Kansas City. Lost by 10 to Cincinnati. Lost by 8 to St. Louis. Yes, he got a bomb late in the game, but onside kick after that, he's in good shape. Anything can happen. Now he's got to play Buffalo. He's rearing their ugly head on the schedule. He's got to play Buffalo, Green Bay, Indianapolis, Baltimore, Denver, Oakland, Washington, Miami. He's got Miami, Indianapolis, Buffalo, and Denver on there. I mean, and Lawrence has had some success before. So
I could see it. I could see him winding up with 5-6 wins.
Yeah. He could possibly have. He could have a winning second half. We could certainly go 4-4. We're forgetting how bad the defense is. They'll probably win 3 games at most.
Yeah.
But if any of those guys are good at quarterback, I doubt him getting them even at 4 or 5.
I think you're going to get a good player, and I think it will be a quarterback.
I think I'll get a good player. I think the only way I get a good quarterback is if I package that pick with other stuff and trade up to get one, which I am maybe not likely to do unless I blow up my entire team, which I might do next year. So that means Manny does.
Well, I like I said, I think that I would like to see that. I would be willing.
I think all league would like to see me blow up the whole team, and then I could be down at the bottom of the standings. Stanley,
you're never there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all these people you've talked bad about are going to be. Yeah. Yes, it's finally time for revenge.
There's going to be 20 separate podcasts next year.
Yes,
with season review.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Jets, folks.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine. I don't think you need to blow up your team. You're on the.
No, I didn't say I would need to, but if I won the Super Bowl this year and I thought I could get a good deal for Peyton Manning, and he looked like he was near the end, I might blow up the entire team. I got a lot of age in that team. I might blow up the entire team and do a total rebuild and I like drafting young players. So not, you know, I think it might be the better move long term. We'll see. And I know you, Dennis. You're like, all right, Tom. You got Peyton Manning, you got Marshawn Lynch, and you're going to blow up your team. What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, what is wrong? That doesn't even make sense.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll take players. New Orleans, last team 1-7. This guy gave me a hard time. The season opened 34-24. The game was closer. I was going to lose to this guy. I was like, what's going on here?
This is a good team. This is actually a much better team than you think.
Are they?
Yeah, he's got Robert Quinn. He's got a decent pass blocking all the way across.
He's done a great job drafting. I really like his future approach.
Tolbert is a nice fullback. AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, Zach Ertz.
Ryan Tannehill, No Sharina, Mike Tolbert, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Zach Ertz. Not awful pass blocking. This reminds me a lot of my spring team, or my fall team this year, except that I had Andrew Luck and he has Tannehill, and I have Reggie Bush is probably a little better than his guys, but not much. But yeah, that's a pretty good offense.
Yeah, his defense is where he's having issues.
That was sort of my team too.
Lots of zeros.
You're not fond of the old. Oh yes, yeah. This is the triangle of death team. He plays 3-4 with the nose tackle 0 and the ILB 0-0s.
Yep.
You know, but at least he only has one corner 0. So
I'd rather do that than play a 4-3 with a 0 at one of the defensive tackles and a 0 at middle linebacker. It seems like with the 2 zeros, you can cover for that a little easier with, leaving there and stuff in the zone.
You can, but the humiliation of fielding the triangle of death might get to me. I might go for the 4-3 and have my Roy Miller guy at defensive tackle, just for pride. But this guy took over a horrible team. He had Peyton Manning, I believe. He took over a horrible team that had Peyton Manning and nothing else, and he put Peyton Manning up for ransom, I should say, or for auction. And Jay and I were going at it in the Peyton Manning sweepstakes, went back and forth. I made the guy a very good deal. I traded him a lot of stuff.
But there's a lot of it wasn't. I still think you made it out. You came out ahead in that deal. I think it was like a second-round pick was like the jewel of the trade, or am I?
No. I gave him at least one first-round pick, if not 2. And at the time, I also got Steve Weatherford the deal. I made him swap punters because this guy had a slightly better card for the year. I gave him.
Yeah, here's the deal. Here, I'll tell you the deal.
I see the deal right now. I gave him. Okay. Well, I bet you're going to say it in a way that sounds unflattering to me. But go ahead. You could say the deal.
So you got Peyton Manning in the punter. He got the other punter, and your second, Baltimore second, your fourth, next year's number 1, and next year's number 6, along with a 4-4 guard.
Sean Laval, who was scheduled to start at the time.
Yeah, no, not discounting that, but that's actually a better package than I must be thinking of. In SOMSFA, Peyton Manning went for a pittance, like that second-round pick. Let me look at that. Because they were traded the same thing in the same year after the season.
He went for in SOMSFA. He went for a high number 2 and Jake Long.
Yeah, Jake Long on number 2. That's a great deal for.
But you got to realize. But you got to. No, Nathan was trading him away.
Oh, that's a great deal for whoever Nathan traded him to.
That was Dale.
Oh, that's right. That's the 3-3-5 or the 3 wide guy.
The 4 wide. 4 wide
guy.
He gets upset if you accuse him of only using 3 wide receivers. But
he's the one that's writing Strat every year, asking him to introduce the 5 wide offense. He wants no back, 5 wide.
Exactly. Are the offensive linemen really necessary?
Yeah,
but he's pretty successful. I mean, he had a terrible team, I think, in the SOMSFA one of these years, and he won like 7-9 or 8-8, and I think he made the playoffs in SOMSFA this year. So, I mean, whatever he's doing a pretty good job with it. It's very unorthodox, and I think he has problems when he plays the good teams. But hey, maybe I don't know. It works a little bit for him. But
let's fill in that trade.
Hold on. But also in SOMSFA, you didn't know that Manning was about to have a great year again.
Absolutely.
So like in SSFA, we made this trade to get last year's Manning card, knowing you already had a 55 touchdown year.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So you might have thought he was one and done, and of course Nathan had 3 quarterbacks: Peyton Manning, Ken, and RG3. And unfortunately for him, he kept RG3 and traded the other 2 guys.
Right, right.
So we're good.
But okay, so so let's fill in this trade. So you had Danny Trevathan, Justin Tucker. That was what he used the second and fourth round picks for.
Justin
and
Tucker.
Then Justin Tucker. Yeah,
I was thinking Justin Tuck. I'm like, why is he drafting Justin Tuck? Why is he in the draft? Right, go ahead.
Okay, and then the first round pick, he picked DeAndre Hopkins.
Nice.
And the sixth round pick was Sylvester Williams. So
you're missing a player. What about the other second round pick? He had two second round picks last. He had a Jet number 2 and a Baltimore
correct,
number 2.
Correct. Sorry about that. So back to the 2012. The Baltimore was Mike Daniels, who's probably best that I skipped that pick.
Who is it? Who did you take with my number 2?
That was Trevathan. So
we got Mike Daniels, Danny Trevathan, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Tucker, and Sylvester Williams.
That's not bad.
I did pretty well.
That's a way to. You did do pretty well, but that's still a nice way to rebuild. See, that's what you're talking about with drafting a bunch of young players. You need that impact quarterback more than you need those pieces, I think.
Oh yeah, well yeah, you do, but I mean, you have to. He had a roster with literally 0 players.
Yeah, no, I love
Peyton Manning, nothing.
Yeah, Trevathan, Hopkins, and even Sylvester Williams could be good too, and Tucker's solid. So that he got 3+ building blocks in that trade.
Yeah, because and you're trying to get to 23, 24 guys, or at least 18, 19 guys, and maybe fill in the rest. 18, 19 long-term guys. Hopefully, if that's your approach to roster building, But I mean, I think on the surface, if you tell me a late number 1, 2 number 2s, a 4, a 6, and a mediocre guard, that's not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
And it was the best offer he got. Jay actually still regrets not offering a little more. Yeah. And actually, Jay had a top 10 pick. I think this was the deal. Jay can correct us if we're wrong, but and I think a lot of guys will listen to this whole thing. Maybe not in one sitting. Maybe when they're trying to go to sleep at night. But I think if I recall correctly, Jay had maybe the number 7 overall or something like that, and was reluctant to part with it in this deal. And it was going back and forth. Should I give it up? Should I not give it up? Scott would have liked to get it. I think that would have pushed Jay over the top in the deal, and I wouldn't have had Peyton Manning. And Jay decided, no, I'm going to keep the pick because I don't think his team was maybe as strong. I had a very strong roster outside of Peyton Manning. The team I had last year was silly. That team was silly, and I should have done better in the playoffs with it. I coached terribly in that game, and I deserved to lose. But that was a great team. And that was a really great team that I had last year. This year's team is much more flawed and not nearly as good. But so he kept the pick because he wanted a certain player, and he got the player he wanted. You know who it was?
Yeah, right. Who was it?
Josh Gordon. Ouch. He talked about that. He talked to me about that sometime a month or 2 ago. I'm so pissed that we didn't say it that way, but he said it I wanted Josh Gordon. He had a great year. Blah 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 blah. And then so I don't make the Manning deal, and then this happens to Josh Gordon. So that's a pretty bad break. I mean, last year who would not have wanted before all this happened? Who would not have wanted Josh Gordon after that second year he had?
Okay, hold on just one second. I agree.
He agrees and he runs away. He was going to talk about the Saints and then the final team we're doing, but if he's not going to sleep right away, we could talk a little German football or strat. We'll see. He's talking about all the young players the Saints have, and the Saints have a boatload of young players. We're looking at the defensive side of the ball now. You got Sharif Floyd, Robert Quinn, Sylvester Williams, Josh Boyd, Bruce Irvin, Danny Trevathan, Jonathan Banks, Marcus Gilchrist, Desmond Trufant, Raheem Moore. There's a lot of even Devon House, isn't the Green Bay guy? Demetrius McCray. I mean, he's got a lot of young players. It's a team that you expect will head north.
I'm back.
I was mentioning. I just mentioned that you were about to mention that Scott and the Saints had all these young players, and I just went through them. And I mean, it's for a team that had no players at all. I'm not saying these guys are superstars, but he's got a wealth of young talent, and he's going to get even more next year.
Yep. That's That's the way you do a rebuild. That's the way you do it.
And we already, I went through the defense, and we already mentioned the offense. I mean, what is the offense?
And missing a running back, an impact running back, and then you're good to go.
An impact running back, and interior lineman, and you can get fill-in interior linemen pretty cheaply.
Right.
But the rest of that offense is set. And the defense has got a lot of talent on it too. Some of these guys need to grow up, and then you add 3 or 4 players. You had 3 or 4 like real good young players in next year's draft, and then you have a good chance to have a pretty good team for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
So I like the approach he took. I really feel. I mean, I am asking for such a beating because I talk so much about my team and the way I'm doing and this and that. But I really feel like my SOMSFA team is on the cusp of having the kind of roster that I always want to have, that I always wanted to have. A roster that's like, like a TJ roster, like a TJ roster, with Andrew Luck at quarterback. A roster with a bunch of like really good play. Now I don't have the defensive guys he does, but a roster with a bunch of really good like guys who are young or in their prime, and it looks like for the next 3 or 4 years you're gonna have a good team. I don't know. That idea appeals to me a lot more than trading my picks for the guys for the year and going for the year. I don't know why. I'd rather draft young players, and I think I prefer playing strat GM. I love playing the games also, but because strat is a great game. But I love the GM part of it. I love the drafting part of it.
I'm the same way, but I'd rather have like a straight up fair fight every year, and that's why I love Battle Royale, where nobody's going to be able to to GM them their way to a title based on, oh my God, I have this stud team that's much better than everybody else. Everybody starts fresh every year. You can build your team. Everybody has a good team, and then you start over and blow it up and do it again the next year.
So you prefer that, or you like both?
I like both, but I prefer Battle Royale. Battle Royale is my favorite format.
I prefer this format.
Yeah, you love to draft. You love to trade and draft. I mean, trade for picks and draft.
What I really like doing is drafting young players. That's what I really like doing.
Yeah, that's why you're. I guess we're looking at your 2012 SOMSFA SSFA draft, where you traded every single pick away. That is so un-Tom-like. Nick Perry was the only player that you selected in the first 5 rounds, and then you got Demario Williams and Chris Baker in the last 5. And Jerry's right.
Chris Baker's actually a decent prospect. Well, he's like 28 now, not really a prospect, but he actually has some decent ability. But
you were going for it that year, so I see why you did it.
I was going for it, and I blew it. And I coached poorly against John, but John's a good coach. But that's another reason why I like to build a team. By the way, we're done with the review, but I'm happy to keep talking for a little longer.
Very little longer.
It's up to you. It's up to you. You're the sleepy-eyed one. But you have to get up in the morning. I don't. So, but I'll get up and play some Civilization 5. That'll be my morning. But SSFA Game 3 recap. So he must have sent out the file already.
Yes, yes.
Yesterday.
The pre-files are announced and the league files out there. So
we play in the 4th quarter, right? So we can't play right now, right?
Correct. I wouldn't play right now. I'm just waiting for my wife to work, and then I'm going to bed.
I got you. But I have no idea what I was just saying. What was I saying?
Oh, you were talking about the.
What I was going to say was, more so in baseball, not in football as much. One of the reasons I don't like putting so much emphasis for 1 year is that anything can happen in one game. You could lose any game. I like the idea if I have a team that's good for 4 or 5 years, I'd rather 4 or 5 shots. I don't know. You know what it really comes down to? I'm not as obsessed with winning championships. It's like I would rather have a team that's real good every year, and hopefully I win a championship somewhere in there, as opposed to, okay, I got a good team, I'm going to throw all my eggs in the basket to try and win the championship. Now, I already won an SSFA championship, so it's maybe easier to say that. And I won some championships in a couple of leagues, so maybe it's easier to say that. Maybe if you never won the championship, it's harder to take that approach. I don't know, but I know that like you and Nathan, if you guys have got close to the goods, you're gonna trade everything you can to build that team real strong for the year. With some exceptions, you're not going to maybe get rid of. Obviously, you're not going to get rid of your franchise quarterback. You know, you might not trade a Robert Quinn type guy. You know,
I did trade a Robert Quinn.
Well, you traded him to get a quarterback, though.
Right. True.
You know, so it's different. But I don't know. What do you think? But also, I mean, the coach. But also, I think another part of that is the coaching. I feel like there's a lot of guys out there that are pretty good coaches. So I think if you're a pretty good coach, you might feel like, you know, all right, I don't have to go all out for the year because maybe I can coach him up and have some success anyway, even though I'm not really one of the 3 or 4 best teams. I do think it's hard to ask yourself to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender if you're not one of the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 best teams.
Yeah, I think it comes down to I mean, if you look at it from an NFL standpoint, if you were the fan of one of these teams, would you rather be a fan of a team like the Eagles, who has been in playoff contention and won 10-plus games for well over a decade? Or would you rather be a team like, going to baseball, like the Florida Marlins, who has won a championship or 2, but is terrible after that because they just trade everybody away and blow everybody up? That's a tough question.
I think I'd rather for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think I would too, and I think that you know, you're always going to have a shot.
Yeah, because you don't know that the Eagles aren't going to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and we don't know with the Marlins either. But there are certain years in which, you know, going in, the Marlins are losing 100 games. Forget about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But that's the question. Do you want to?
I think the key point is just as long as you're not a fan of the Cleveland Browns, you have a chance.
Cleveland going to the playoffs next year. Mark my words. Just because they redesigned their uniforms.
Yeah, they're not going to the
playoffs. They're going to the playoffs. I'm telling you, it's happening.
Are they staying in the NFL?
Yes, they will.
Then I don't think they're making it. Then maybe they got downgraded or something.
They're going to look at themselves in the mirror and they're going to go, "Man, we look sharp. We're going to win."
What are you looking at? You looking at the 2012 drafts? You're looking at?
Yeah, I was looking at the 2012 draft. Okay. And this was atypical for me and atypical for you, because I think I usually don't. I wish I was a better GM, to be honest. I don't think I make. You know, I'm trying to investigate and learn the players better and make better picks. But this was an excellent draft for me, the 2012 draft.
I'll give you a pro tip. The center is the one that hikes the ball.
Yes, very important. Okay. But if you look at my draft, I really am happy with this draft. Not so much my 2013 draft, but this draft I got Russell Wilson, Dontari Poe, Michael Floyd, Derek Wolf's okay. Stevie Brown was a 5 in the 4th round. Byron Maxwell in the 5th round. I love that pick. Kelechi Osemele, who's going to be a 6'7" guard in the 3rd round. Really happy with that. So I feel like this is really, this draft helped make up for the fact that I traded away Robert Quinn and my 1st round pick the following year, because I need a guy like, you know, Osemele to be like that stud guard or tackle every year, because I traded away all that stuff to get Russell Wilson.
Sure. What year was that draft for you?
This is 2 years ago. So
2012,
this is
2011.
Yeah, 2012. So okay. The 2013 draft, I don't think I did as well. I wasn't at the draft, I don't think, or I don't remember exactly, but I had
well, you didn't have too many picks anyway.
Yeah, so I didn't have a 1st round pick.
Yeah, you got, was it somebody like a daughter at a basketball game or a playoff?
Yeah,
game?
I was coach. I'm my kid's coach, so I was their soccer coach that day, so I couldn't miss. So I have Vaccaro, Luke Wilson, Monte Ball. I don't think this draft was that great.
Shades of Will Ferrell in what's that movie?
I don't know.
He's a soccer coach. Mike Dicker.
Yeah,
Ladybug
or Ladybugs or something like that.
No,
that's only.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think the word balls might be in the title. I don't remember.
But anyway, we're really off the beaten path now. But
we're waiting for Mrs. Crowley to summon you.
Let's look at your draft from 2013. What'd you do this year? Let's go back.
I filled holes for the year.
Jordan Reed, good pick. Kenny Stills, good pick.
I was not thrilled.
Gavin Escobar, the 5th round, is a great pick.
I was not thrilled with this draft for the future, but I knew that I was going to take. First of all, I had no 1st round pick, and I knew that I was going to take guys for the future. I was going to take guys for the year, right. Particularly wide receivers, who I might not have really been that thrilled with, and who I didn't really like anywhere near to the most as players at those spots. And that's what I did this year. I don't think I even had a ton of picks either. But next year I've got a lot of picks. But I kind of said, like, all right, let me try and patch some holes. This year I said I'm going to patch some holes. I'm going to try and field as good a team as possible and trade for some veterans while not destroying my future, you know? So I traded picks. I traded the one last year. That might have been in the Manning deal. That one I think was in the Manning deal, this one.
Right.
But I traded picks to get like Trent Cole, outside linebacker 5. I don't remember who my other outside linebacker 5 was. I traded a pick for him. I traded the pick for Sean Phillips. I drafted Jordan Reed and Kenny Stills more for the year than for the future. You know, Kenny Stills will be a starting quality receiver next year, not a number 1 receiver next year. So my opportunities to draft future guys were limited. I had the 2 second-round picks. I drafted Jordan Reed at number 33. I drafted Kenny Stills at number 41. Then I had no 3rd-round pick. I had no 4th-round pick.
All right, bro. I gotta
Okay.
log off. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the progress.
Let's stop the podcast right here.
Okay.
And so everybody, I hope you enjoy the show. I know it went on forever, but maybe you can listen to it in a couple of installments. You can binge listen.
Beautiful. All right. I'll talk to you
Later.